Chapter 281. Although Yunjioga had already lost her spiritual power, these three hooligans were still not a problem. She flicked her finger and the colorless and odorless black wind powder floated onto the short strong man's body. The short strong man's body trembled and he knelt on the ground in fear. "What did you do to me?" The short strong man desperately scratched the itch, leaving red marks on his arm, but he did not feel anything. "Nothing, I just gave you some itching powder. If there is no antidote, you will probably die from the itch." Yunjioga said expressionlessly. "Lord, this lowly one had eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai, please spare my dog life." The short strong man was also flexible and immediately begged for mercy while crying. The surrounding people all looked at this and the unfriendly gazes immediately decreased a lot. The Lu sisters were even more speechless. Fighting could use cultivation, but going against a poison master was courting death. Yunjioga saw that the deterrent effect had been achieved, so she flicked her finger and sprinkled the antidote and said, "Scram." "Thank you, Lord." The short strong man immediately ran away in fear. Yunjioga continued to wait. Some of the more sophisticated people in the surrounding people wanted to come up and greet her, but they were all coldly rejected by her. She came here to secretly learn, so there was no need to be friendly with them. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, a youth wearing a black inner sect disciple robe finally walked out from the inner sect mountain path. He was very handsome and had an amiable smile on his face, making people feel happy at first glance. Yunjioga's heart tightened when she saw this person. Su Junqing, she did not expect him to be in charge of the outer sect disciple test. One must know that accepting a disciple was a very important matter. Even evil cultivator sects would send their most trusted disciple to be in charge. Su Junqing had only been in the Yin Corps sect for a long time, but he was able to take over this kind of work. This meant that he was doing very well here. "Everyone, I am Su Junqing, in charge of this outer sect disciple test. This test's topic is bone picking." Su Junqing said a few words, then directly announced the content of the test. The content of the test was very simple. It was to go to the mass grave and find a skeleton that they thought had the most spirituality. The stronger the spirituality of the skeleton they found, the better the treatment they would receive in the sect in the future. Other than corpse control, our Yin Corps sect also has all kinds of puppet techniques. Among them, refining bones is the most common. Bones are the foundation of the human body. First learn the bone refining technique, then you can refine corpses. Picking bones is also a very common practice for Yin Corps sect outer disciples, so everyone must work hard. Su Junqing kindly explained. "Senior, none of us have learned the art of looking at bones. How do we know which skeleton has spirituality?" Lu Tian'er blinked her big watery eyes with a face of ignorance. "I will give you a bone measuring talisman. As long as you stick it on the bones you like, you will be able to test the spirit force contained in the bones. However, this talisman can only be used once, so everyone must be careful when using it," Su Junqing said with a smile. Yunjioga immediately understood the purpose of this test. This was encouraging everyone to snatch their opponent's bone-measuring talismans. The more talismans he snatched, the higher his chances of finding a spiritual skeleton. Even if it was stolen, there was no need to be afraid. Just bring back a random skeleton. If you guessed correctly, it proved that your luck was not bad, that you had good fortune, and that you were worth nurturing. This test was killing many birds with one stone. Everyone line up and come get your talismans. Su Junqing gave out the bone-measuring talismans one by one. Yunjioga expressionlessly took the bone-measuring talismans, ignoring Su Junqing's glance. When the Lu sisters received the talismans, they faintly gave Su Junqing a flirtatious look. He tacitly accepted it. When everyone received the talismans, they immediately spread out and looked at the people next to them with vigilance and greed in their eyes. "Big sister, the mass grave is very gloomy, I'm scared. Lu Tian'er pulled Lu Meier's sleeve and pitifully said. Don't be afraid, you'll get used to it. Lu Meier comforted her little sister, but her face was a bit pale. Beauties, don't be afraid, I'll protect you. The short man who was drugged by Yunjioge immediately came forward. Then there were a few men who were interested in the Lu sisters, fighting to be the flower protectors. A group of men protected the two sisters, majestically walking towards the mass grave. Yunjioge looked at them and chose the opposite direction. She had just revealed her poison attack, so no one dared to have any ideas about her talismans. She also had no interest in stealing from others. Yunjioge directly arrived at the mass grave. Although the sun was still hanging in the sky, the mass grave was filled with Yin energy. Gray fog shrouded the sky, the ground was filled with eerie white bones, and one could even see ghost flames floating in the air. There aren't any spiritual corpses outside, we have to go inside. Zishang said in Yunjioge's ear. Then let's go. Yunjioge just wanted to find a random set of corpses to complete her task. The fog in the depths of the mass grave was even thicker, completely blocking out the sunlight, and a cold and damp air rose from the ground. Yunjioge was originally a bit afraid of the cold, and now she felt like she was soaking in ice water. She ate 2 warm yang pills, and only then did she feel a bit better. Bear with it a bit more, you'll be fine after you practice the Yin corpse sex cultivation method. Zishang comforted from the side. Yin corpse sect mainly controlled corpses, but the Yin energy of the corpses was too thick, and the corrosive power was very strong after being together for a long time. Yin corpse sex cultivation method was to convert the Yin energy into spiritual energy, reducing the damage to the body, and it was very suitable for Yunjioge's current situation. I'm fine. Yunjioge was used to the cold. What she was not used to was that her dantian was now empty, and without spiritual energy, she could not open her spiritual eye. It was very difficult to find corpses with spiritual energy just by relying on that talisman. It was easy to rely on Zishang, but Yunjioge did not want to rely on him until the very last moment, so she decided to try it herself. The white bones on the ground were very messy, and Yunjioge did not find a complete set of bones after walking 1 round, but she was not willing to dig up the grave. At this moment, the treasure-seeking scorpion suddenly popped out from Zishang's bag, and called out to Yunjioge, Master, there's a treasure. What treasure? Yunjioge looked at the treasure-seeking scorpion in surprise, and almost forgot about it. I smell a very fragrant smell. The treasure-seeking scorpion jumped down impatiently. It circled around the mass grave with its fat tail needle, and finally stopped in front of a withered old locust tree. The old locust tree was very big, and it needed 3 people to encircle it. The leaves were withered, and the branches were grayish-white, as though it was half dead. The treasure-seeking scorpion circled around the old locust tree a few times, and then burrowed into the ground. After a moment, it popped out, and said with certainty, the treasure is underneath. Dig it. Yunjioge looked at Zishang. She did not have any spiritual energy, and did not have any tools, so she could only rely on Zishang for this kind of hard work. Zishang did not refuse, and half-squatted on the ground, and placed his palm under the big locust tree. The brown soil, along with the broken bones, retreated to the side, and revealed an incomparably thick grayish-white tree root, which looked like a small coffin. Chapter 282. Zishang's fingernails extended and cut a hole on the tree root. Gray Yin Qi spewed out and fog filled the air. Yunjioge waved his palm to get rid of the fog and saw that the Yin Qi in the center of the tree root was as thick as water. A small gray corpse was curled up inside like a baby. It looked like a 3- or 4-year-old child. Although its bones were like a human's, its head was like a monkey's. Profound Yin white bone monkey. Zishang raised his eyebrows and looked at Yunjioge in admiration. You're really lucky. This profound Yin white bone monkey is condensed from extreme Yin energy. If you refine it into a puppet and keep it by your side, it will be extremely beneficial for cultivating the Yin corpse sect's cultivation method. Yunjioge was currently in the outer sect. It was not suitable for a 1,000-year-old corpse like him to appear in front of people. Having a profound Yin white bone monkey puppet by his side would be of great help to him. Fat Scorpion, good job. Yunjioge happily rewarded treasure-seeking Scorpion with 2 bottles of cherry pills. This fat Scorpion was always very helpful at crucial times. Zhi. Treasure-seeking Scorpion happily hugged the 2 bottles of cherry pills and climbed back into the cloth bag to find his wife. Yunjioge wanted to stick the bone-testing talisman on the monkey bone but was stopped by Zishang. This talisman has Su Juanqing's divine sense on it. If he finds anything good, he will know immediately. Su Juanqing is really despicable. Testing to become an outer sect disciple and still wants to get some benefits. I look down on him. Yunjioge muttered as she put away the profound Yin white bone monkey. Then, she randomly found a white skeleton that looked good and stuck the bone-testing talisman on it. The red bone-testing talisman flashed with a faint white light. This meant that although this skeleton contained spiritual energy, it was very little. But no matter what, she had completed her mission. Yunjioge brought the skeleton back and found that most of the other people had arrived. The Lu sisters stood at the very front. The flower protectors from before had already disappeared. They had probably become part of the mass grave. It seemed that these 2 sisters were not as naive as they looked. They should have some ability. After all, in a place like the Yin corpse sect, one could not obtain everything by selling one's body. Other than the flower protectors, there were still a dozen or so people missing. Currently, there were only 80 or so people left. The competition between the evil sects was cruel and fierce. Yunjioge secretly sized up the Lu sisters. He saw that their clothes were clean and they were in high spirits. They didn't look like they had just fought. He didn't know how they had killed those flower protectors. The white bones placed in front of the 2 sisters were very complete. The bones were pure white, and one could tell at a glance that it was rich in spiritual energy. Yunjioge silently placed the skeleton he had picked up on the table and waited for Su Juanqing to inspect it. After Su Juanqing swept out with his spiritual consciousness, he suddenly felt a little disappointed. Among these skeletons, only the bones brought back by the Lu sisters were filled with spiritual power. The others weren't high-grade goods. He had heard that there was a senior who was in charge of this test, and a disciple found a skeleton with profound spiritual power. Later, it was discovered that the disciple was born with dark pupils. That senior martial brother not only picked a good seedling for his mountain peak, but also obtained a good skeleton. It was really a big profit. He had heard of this matter, so he asked Elder Mo Hua for this task. He didn't expect that the harvest this time was really not that good. When Su Juanqing thought of this, he couldn't help but glance at the Lu sisters and Yunjioge. He thought to himself, this pair of sisters is not bad, I can develop them. And that youth called Yunjio, Elder Mo Hua should like this kind of appearance. Unfortunately, he's too young and looks like a virgin. He probably won't be able to satisfy Elder Mo Hua's desires. It's better to nurture him first. Yunjioge stood on the spot expressionlessly. Although Su Juanqing's pimping gaze was hidden, she still noticed it. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation wasn't right, she really wanted to rush up and break his teeth so that she could interrogate him about Yi Yunji's whereabouts. Calm down. Zishang's voice came from beside her. This Yin corpse sect was after all a big evil sect. If she gave herself away, she could forget about staying here. Yunjioge was also very clear about this. She lowered her face and didn't look at Su Juanqing anymore. The skeletons that everyone picked are not bad. The most outstanding are the 2 Lu sisters, and next is Yunjio's. after Su Junqing made his evaluation, he put all the skeletons into his own pocket. These talismans were all provided by the sect, so the spoils of war naturally belonged to the sect as well. It could be considered as one of the benefits for the disciples in charge of recruiting. The Lu sisters were ranked first, so they received a bottle of Yin energy pills as a reward. Yunjioge received half a bottle, and the rest were counted by pills. After the rewards were distributed, many people's gazes turned to the Lu sisters and Yunjioge. They were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Yunjioge chose to ignore them. After the Lu sisters thanked Su Junqing sweetly, they surrounded him and asked all sorts of questions to get close to him. It could be seen that Su Junqing was very fond of the two sisters. His smile was especially gentle and amiable. However, he was here to receive the outer sect disciples after all, so he didn't stick to the Lu sisters for too long. Soon, he talked about official business again. Congratulations on becoming the outer sect disciples of our Yin Corp sect. This is your identity token. Everyone, drip your blood on it and make it your master later. Make sure to keep it safe. This not only represents your identity, but it will also be very useful in the future. Later, everyone will follow the map on this booklet and go to the logistics department to receive your benefits before finding a place to stay. Su Junqing gave everyone a palm-sized gray token and a yellow booklet. After saying a few words of encouragement, he left. Yunjioge let out a sigh of relief. This test was easier than she had imagined. It was all thanks to Yin Shirley. Yunjioge opened the booklet and carefully looked through it. She had a preliminary understanding of the Yin Corp sect situation. The Yin Corp sect was built on a mountain range filled with Yin energy. It extended for dozens of miles. The inner sect was divided into 4 mountain peaks. Other than the main peak, the Yin Corp's peak, which was occupied by the sect master, the 3 elders each stood on a mountain peak. They were respectively Elder Cho Sen's enemy peak, Elder Ink Flower's Ink Flower peak, Elder White Bone's White Bone peak. The outer sect had 6 small mountain peaks. The main peak was where the Skill Teaching Hall, Mission Hall, Medicinal Pill Pavilion, and Weapon Refining Pavilion were located. The other 5 mountain peaks each had 1,000 disciples. They were arranged according to their numbers. Yunjioge was assigned to the second mountain peak. She followed the map on the booklet to the second mountain peak where the logistics department was distributed. She received the standard of an inner sect disciple. The Yin Corp sect was worthy of being a large sect. Every disciple had a red storage bag. A set of gray disciple robes. There were 2 runes embroidered on the door, cleaning and deodorizing. A low grade 1 white bone spike. A low grade 1 corpse control bell. A basic entry cultivation technique. The storage bag space was very small. It was only the size of a cabinet. But it was already very good for a new disciple. The white bone spikes were 2 wide and 3 feet long. They were sharp and could be considered a good weapon. The corpse control bell was gray. Compared to the blood chi bell of the bloodthirsty ancestor, it was simply trash. It could just barely control the white bone spikes. It was still a bit difficult to use it to control corpses. Chapter 283. Yunjioge took the things and went to the small bungalow that the outer sect disciples lived in. The bungalow was quite big, but there were only old tables and chairs and a moldy smell. Yunjioge was quite satisfied with this. She was worried that she would have to share a room with a group of male disciples. Coincidentally, the Lu sisters lived next to Yunjioge and they even squeezed into the same bungalow. At this moment, the door of their room was closed and there was no sound. Who knew what they were doing inside? What's with that look? It's like a pervert who covets beauties. Zi Shang teased Yunjioge. TCH, if sister wants to covet someone, it's a pretty boy, okay? Yunjioga retracted her gaze from the Lu sisters' door. Pretty boy, are you talking about that? Zishang's gaze floated to the right. A fat boy walked out of the bungalow on the right. He wore the outer sect disciples' grey robes tightly and his body was round like a ball. May I ask for senior brother's name? My name is Jean Lin. We will be neighbors in the future. Please give me some pointers, senior brother. Little fatty Jean Lin grinned. There were 2 deep dimples on his chubby face, making him look very likable. Yunjioga ignored little fatty's greeting and closed the door with a bang. You're too rude. Zishang noticed that Yunjioga was becoming more and more antisocial after being poisoned. If you're polite, then go greet him. Yunjioga's image was cold and antisocial, rejecting all the Yin Corp sect disciples' attempts to rope him in. Zishang was speechless. Not to mention that he couldn't show himself, even if he did, he would be an expressionless living corpse that couldn't speak. Greeting him was impossible. Oh right, during the outer sect test, I don't think I saw this little fatty. Yunjioga asked Zishang. She knew that Zishang was very good at recognizing people and never relied on looks. Indeed not. Zishang nodded. So he was selected from the outside? Yunjioga thought about the people that filled the mountains and valleys to register. This little fatty was able to pass the selection so quickly. It seemed like he wasn't a normal person. There was one more person worth paying attention to. Don't think about those useless things. The most important thing now is to cultivate. Zishang urged. Yunjioga took out the outer sect disciple cultivation technique and started studying it with Zishang. The division of cultivation in a large sect was different from that of a spiritualist. According to the density of their spiritual energy, they were divided into the Qi refining stage, the foundation establishment stage, the golden core stage, the nascent soul stage, and the soul formation stage. The corresponding realms of a spiritualist were a rudimentary spiritualist, 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 and spiritualist. There were 10 stages in the Qi refinement stage, and once one reached the peak of the Qi refinement stage, one would have the opportunity to become an inner disciple. Once they entered the foundation establishment stage, they would become elite disciples. If he could form his gold core, that would be awesome. He could totally become an elder. As for nascent soul cultivators and soul formation cultivators, they were all old monsters. They rarely stayed in the faction. They would go to the spiritual city, which was a higher level, to find great opportunities. Zishang carefully examined the technique and said, "There's no problem with this technique. You can practice it." Although this outer sect Yin technique could not compare to the core cultivation technique, the Yin Corp's bone controlling technique, it was just right for Yunjioga. Then I'll start practicing. Yunjioga took out the bottle of Yin energy pills that Su Junqing had just rewarded her. Although this bottle of Yin energy pills was of low grade, she didn't have any suitable Yin energy pills on hand, so she could only make do with it. Practice it. I'll help you guard, Zishang said. Yunjioga swallowed a Yin energy pill and sat cross-legged on the bed. She began to circulate and absorb the Yin energy according to the technique. Wisps of grey Yin energy rose from her dantian. It guided the poisonous gas from the 9 broken bones to circulate in her body. It felt like ants were crawling over her. It was an indescribable sour feeling. This was the slightest reaction from the poisonous gas. If she couldn't even endure this, she could forget about expelling the poisonous gas. Yunjioga gritted her teeth and persevered. When she finished, she was already sweating profusely and smelled sour. How do you feel? Zishang held a red paper doll in his hand and asked with concern. What is this? Yunjioga looked at the lifelike red paper doll in Zishang's hand. Its small hands and feet were still struggling. It's just a little bug that wants to get some information. This method of using yin energy to control the paper doll was a kind of crafty technique. In the territory of the evil sects and demonic sects, it was not strange for someone to know this method. Let me see. Yunjioge stretched out her hand. Zishang handed the red paper doll over. Yunjioge touched it and felt that the red paper doll was wet and cold. It was especially disgusting. She immediately stuffed it back to Zishang. Is it the Lu sisters or that little fatty? The two of them lived next door. They were the most likely to come to investigate. It should be the Lu sisters. Zishang deduced based on the direction the red paper doll came from. You really do have some skills. She knew that the Lu sisters were not as simple as they seemed. It doesn't matter if you have 8 skills. Hurry up and train your corpse control technique to the first level, then learn the puppet technique. Zishang rubbed his fingers and the red paper doll was burned to ashes. He was prepared to personally refine the mystic yin skeleton monkey. However, if Yunjioge wanted to take it back for her own use, she still had to learn the puppet technique. How do you even know how to refine puppets? Yunjioge couldn't help but admire Zishang. Although this guy often pretended to be weak, it felt like nothing could stump him. Who asked this sovereign to be 1,000-years-old teacher? Zishang smiled. The longer he lived, the more he knew. You really are addicted to being wet. Yunjioge rolled her eyes. Tonight, you will know how powerful this old teacher is. Zishang winked ambiguously. Because it was not convenient to do it in the Yin Corp sect, they only did it once every 3 days. The process was also very fast. It was just to prevent Yunjioge's dantian from exploding. Scram! Yunjioge didn't want to tease him. She took out the corpse control bell and prepared to test the white bone thorn. The great Tao of the world was the same. Controlling the corpse control bell was similar to controlling the lightning snake illusionary whip. Yunjioge quickly infused spirit energy into the corpse control bell. Then, she shook the bell. The runes on the white bone thorn lit up and slowly rose into the sky. Go! Yunjioge pointed at the broken table. The white bone thorn turned into a stream of light and pierced through, leaving a round hole on the wooden table. Although its power was far inferior to the lightning snake illusionary whip, it was still passable. Yunjioge controlled the white bone thorn to fly up and down the house a few times. Only when the yin qi in her body was completely exhausted did she stop and continue to cultivate. After Yunjioge finished the half bottle of yin qi pills, her outer sex yin qi finally reached the first level of qi refinement. She could be considered to have successfully entered the ranks of cultivators. Under Zishang's urging, Yunjioge went to the main peak's technique inheritance pavilion to ask about the puppet technique. The main peak was bustling with people coming and going. The technique inheritance pavilion was built in a very imposing manner. The stone door was 10 meters tall. It was very spacious inside, but it was not open to disciples. There was only a small window in the middle. A gray elder sat behind the window. Chapter 284. Senior, I want to learn the puppet method. What are the conditions? Yunjioge asked the old man. The old man lifted his eyelids and glanced at Yunjioge before replying indifferently, 300 contribution points. So many contribution points. Yunjioge was speechless. The Yin Corp sect did not accept spirit jades or spirit stones. If one wanted to learn cultivation techniques or exchange for pills, they all needed contribution points. Yunjioge and the other outer sect disciples could stay for half a month for free. But after the free period ended, they had to pay 30 contribution points every month, otherwise they would be stripped of their disciple status and sent to the mass grave. These contribution points could be bought with spirit jades, 1 spirit jade for 1 contribution point. Although Yunjioge could take out 300 spirit jades, it was too conspicuous, no disciple would do it. Other than buying with spirit jades, they could also do sect missions to exchange for it. This was more in line with the needs of the disciples, and it was also a mutually beneficial thing for the sect. Yunjioga did not have contribution points, so she could only earn it. She thanked the gray-robed old man and went to the mission hall. The mission hall was bigger than the technique teaching pavilion. It was filled with outer sect disciples, each choosing a mission. Yunjioga had good eyesight, she could clearly see the situation inside. The mission hall had a total of 13 pillars, on top of which were densely packed mission lists. From left to right, it was low-level, middle-level, and high-level missions. The lowest-level missions were helping to clean the graveyard, picking up bones to wash bones, patrolling. These were all manual labor, and the rewards were very low. The middle-level missions had high rewards, but the requirements were very high, and there was a certain amount of risk. The high-level missions required one to be at refining rank 5, with Yunjioga's current cultivation, she could not even go take a look. Yunjioga walked around the mission hall. She found that it was not easy to earn 30 contribution points every month. Those jobs that were not life-threatening were very tedious. After completing them, there was no time to cultivate. Even if one could survive in the outer sect, if one's cultivation did not improve, one would only be bullied. The missions with high rewards were also dangerous. For example, there was a middle-level mission to kill Yin ghosts to collect Yin Qi. Each bottle of Yin Qi could be exchanged for 10 contribution points. If one's cultivation was not enough, they could only become food for the Yin ghosts. How about this mission? Yunjioga wanted to take the mission to kill Yin ghosts. Whether it was refining pills or refining corpses, the Yin corpse sect required a large amount of Yin energy. Therefore, this task of killing Yin ghosts and collecting Yin Qi was available every day, and it was also a task that outer disciples liked to do. It's too conspicuous for you to accept this mission right after advancing. Start with the lowest level mission and advance step by step. Zishang wanted to let Yunjioga familiarize himself with the Yin corpse sect situation. Alright. Yunjioga accepted all the low-level quests on the quest list. Every day after she finished practicing, she would clean up the graveyard, pick up the bones, mop the ground, and clean the whole mountain. Although it was exhausting, he quickly familiarized himself with the Yin corpse sect situation. She realized that not all of these outer sect disciples were evil people. The reason why they joined the Yin corpse sect was because they grew up in the territory of the devil sect. It couldn't be helped. You grew up in the territory of the demon sect. If you ran to a righteous sect, they wouldn't dare to put you in an important position. Yunjioga finally understood why Zishang had asked him to change his name and gender to go to the Debi Mountains. Only by removing all traces of the past could he integrate into the Yin corpse sect. Yunjioga spent a month to finish all the low-level quests and finally earned 300 contribution points. She also successfully entered the second layer of Qi condensation. She once again went to the Technique Inheritance Pavilion and used contribution points to exchange for a puppet cultivation method. Then, she returned to the cottage with Zishang and prepared to refine the profound Yin white bone monkey. The most important part of refining the profound Yin white bone monkey was to create a talisman liquid with spiritual power. This talisman liquid required many materials, among which the corpse star grass was the most important. Fortunately, Yunjioga had prepared a large amount of Yin attribute materials before coming to the Yin corpse sect, including the corpse star grass. Zishang crushed the corpse star grass and added Yunjioga's blood essence to create a solvent. Then, he dipped his index finger in the talisman liquid and drew a talisman on the white bone monkey. The red blood talisman quickly seeped into the white bones and the originally lifeless skeleton gained a trace of spiritual energy. When the puppet was about to be refined, Zishang suddenly stopped and drew a formation on the ground. "What are you doing?" Although Yunjioga wasn't familiar with formations, she could tell that Zishang was drawing a soul-spiking formation. This broken house is too simple. I'm afraid that after the white bone monkey is formed, its spiritual energy will leak out and be discovered. Zishang replied without raising his head. Is it that exaggerated? Yunjioge didn't think much of it. Wasn't it just a puppet? Could it be refined into a divine weapon? After Zishang finished drawing the formation, he continued to draw talismans for the profound white bone monkey. When he finished drawing the last blood talisman, a cold wind suddenly blew in the house. The surrounding tables, chairs, and beds were all blown to pieces. Yunjioge's hair danced wildly and her clothes were blown up by the cold wind. Fortunately, the cold wind only blew within the circle that Zishang had drawn. If it had blown to the roof, the tiles on it would have been blown away. As the cold wind blew, the monkey's skull in the circle suddenly emitted 2 bean-sized flames. Following that, a cracking sound could be heard. The small white bone monkey stood up from the ground. Its head was big and its body was small, just like a bean sprout. The huge head looked left and right and finally came in front of Yunjioge and stared at her blankly. The white bone monkey's red eyes looked quite horrifying. Crack, crack. The small white bone monkey's mouth moved up and down, as if it was talking to Yunjioge. Unfortunately, Yunjioge only understood the beast language and not the ghost language. Although she didn't understand the ghost language, she could vaguely feel that this small white bone monkey was begging her to protect it. TSK, it really became a spirit. Right now, your spiritual sense is too weak and you still can't control it well. But once you cultivate it, there won't be a problem. Zishang's white jade-like forehead was dripping with sweat and his handsome face had a trace of exhaustion. It could be seen that refining this profound white bone monkey was not easy. Are you all right? Yunjioge took out a handkerchief to wipe Zishang's sweat. I'm fine. Zishang shook his head and pointed at the profound white bone monkey. Keep it first. There's no place to put it. Although this white bone monkey was small, her broken storage bag couldn't fit it. Just let it disperse. Zishang ordered the white bone monkey, disperse. The profound white bone monkey automatically disintegrated, turning into a pile of bones that were neatly stacked. A small bag was enough to keep it. It's really convenient. Yunjioge stuffed the small bag into her storage bag. It could be said to be perfect. Since you've already advanced, then go and accept the mission to kill the ghost. Zishang felt that Yunjioge was already mature enough, it was time to train. Building a car behind closed doors was not a solution, one had to learn and use it, turning the skill into combat power. Most importantly, this chi was of great use to them. Chapter 285. Alone? With Yunjioge's current cultivation level, it would be dangerous for her to go to the chi graveyard alone. It's fine. Just bring the Xian white bone monkey with you. Zishang would not let Yunjioge take the risk. Will the little monkey do? The white bone monkey's arms and legs were as thin as reeds. It would be lucky if the ghosts did not break them apart. Don't underestimate it. It's much more powerful than you. How could a puppet that he had personally refined be weak? I hope so. Since Zishang had said so, Yunjioge obediently went to the mission hall to accept the mission to kill the ghosts. She did not expect that the disciple on duty at the mission hall today would be Yunjioge's neighbor, little fatty Jinlin. Yunjioge looked at little fatty again. To be on duty at the mission hall, one must have a backer or connections. This little fatty was not simple. Senior Yunjio, have you found a team to kill the ghosts? Do you want me to introduce you to a reliable team? Little fatty took Yunjioge's mission list and asked enthusiastically. No need. Yunjioge coldly refused. Little fatty was not angry. He helped her register her information and gave her the token to enter the ghost graveyard. He asked, do you want to rent or buy the yin qi bottle? How much does it cost to rent and how much does it cost to buy? Yunjioge knew that yin qi bottles were needed to kill the yin ghosts, but she did not know much about the market. A rank 1 yin qi bottle can hold 100 yin ghosts. It costs 1 contribution point for 3 days to rent. It costs 50 contribution points for 1. If you can afford it, it's better to buy 1, little fatty explained carefully. I'll buy 1. Yunjioge's next mission was to kill the yin ghosts. It was indeed better to buy 1. Then take it. After little fatty took 50 contribution points from Yunjioge's token, he swiftly packed a yin qi bottle and gave it 2 death talismans. This is an internal benefit. Next time, you can come to me when you want to buy something. You'll get a discount. Little fatty said with a smile. Yunjioge did not say anything. She took the items and left. The yin qi bottle was pure white. It was about the same size as the vases used to arrange flowers. The only difference was that the bottle had a red yin gathering and spirit rune engraved on it. It's so expensive to inscribe a rune. If I had known, I would have asked you to make one for me, Yunjioge muttered. However, she was only joking. It would be too eye-catching if she really took out a bottle of yin energy that she had made herself. I told you to learn talisman patterns, but you refused. Xiaofan took the opportunity to lecture him. I'm so tired from training every day. How could I learn so much? Yunjioge was not very talented when it came to runes. She looked at the wavy lines that resembled tadpoles and naturally lost interest in them. Xiaofan couldn't do anything about it. Talent was a mysterious thing. Before Yunjioge was enlightened, it would be very difficult for her to learn runes. He did not want to force her. He would take it one step at a time. The entrance to the yin energy graveyard was a pair of large stone doors that opened every hour. Yunjioge thought that she had arrived very early. She did not expect that there were already 8 disciples standing at the door. It looked like they were in a group. Although they were all dressed in gray, these outer sect disciples were obviously veterans. The leader was a tall, skinny man with triangular eyes and broom-like eyebrows. He was at the 3rd level of the qi refining stage and was obviously not a good person. When he saw Yunjioge, broom-like eyebrows looked her up and down. He laughed contemptuously and said, "Young man, you've got guts. You're only at the 2nd level of the qi refining stage, but you dare to come to the yin qi graveyard alone?" Yunjioge did not even look at him. She stood in a corner and waited for the yin qi graveyard to open. "Young man, you're really something." Broom-like eyebrows was about to come over to pick a fight with Yunjioge when another group of disciples appeared in the distance. There were a total of 13 of them. The Lu sisters were among them. The 2 sisters had already advanced to the 2nd level of the qi refining stage. Although they were also wearing gray robes, they had altered the waists, collars, and cuffs of their robes, making their bodies look even more voluptuous. The 2 sisters were beautiful and knew how to act coquettishly. It was no wonder that they were able to get close to the senior disciples so quickly. When Broom-like Eyebrows saw this group of people, his face immediately darkened. He did not bother to look for trouble with Yunjioge anymore. Broom-like Eyebrows Chen, you've brought your brothers here again. The leader of this group was a short man who looked like Tu Xingxuan. He had a big face, small eyes, and thick lips. He was extremely ugly. Although this short man was ugly, he was already at the 4th level of the qi refining stage. He had the highest cultivation level among the 2 groups of people. Broom-like Eyebrows Chen ignored the short man and whistled at the Lu sisters. He smiled lecherously and said, "Sisters, Shorty Chiu is only good-looking, but he's useless. I'm afraid that he won't be able to satisfy you. Why don't you join us? I guarantee that you'll have a good time." When the Lu sisters were teased, they looked embarrassed, aggrieved, and uneasy. Shorty Chio's heart ached when he saw this. He immediately pointed at broom-like eyebrows Chen and shouted, "Looks like I didn't teach you a lesson last time. You still want to talk dirty? Do you think I won't kill you? I'm talking to the sisters. Why are you in such a hurry? You haven't gotten your hands on the sisters yet, right? Otherwise, why would you bring them here to show off?" Broom-like eyebrows Chen chuckled. Broom-like eyebrows Chen's words stabbed right into Shorty Chio's heart. He had been trying to please the sisters recently, but he had not made any progress other than touching their hands. He wanted to force himself on them, but the sisters were smarter. He had not found the opportunity to do so yet. This time, the sisters had asked him to help them with the mission to kill the Yin ghosts. They had also promised to reward him after the mission was completed. Hence, he had ignored the objections of his brothers and forced the sisters into the group. The Lu sisters noticed that Shorty Chio's expression was not good. They turned around and saw Yunjioga standing in the corner. Lu Tian's eyes lit up. She shouted, "Isn't this Senior Yunjio?" "Senior Yunjio, the Yin ghosts in the Yin Qi graveyard appear in groups. It's too dangerous for you to go in alone. Why don't you team up with us?" Lu Mei immediately said with concern. "That's right." Lu Tian pulled on Shorty Chio and said coquettishly, "Senior Chio, can you help Senior Yunjio?" Shorty Chio was put in a difficult position. He did not dare to agree. The Yin Qi graveyard was filled with danger. His subordinates were already unhappy that he had brought 2 new girls along to take advantage of the situation. If he brought another rookie with him, he would only be a burden to the group. At that moment, the Yin Qi graveyard creaked. 2 gigantic stone doors opened, and a cold and gloomy aura drifted out. Yunjioga acted as if she had not heard the Lu sisters' invitation. She walked straight in with the token in her hand. Shorty Chio heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "This guy really doesn't know how to appreciate our kindness. Let's not bother with him. Let's go." "Yes," the Lu sisters replied sweetly. They then followed Shorty Chio and the others into the graveyard. Tisk. Broom-like eyebrows Chen snorted coldly and followed them in. Chapter 286. Yunjioga stood in a small open space, looking at the Yin Qi cemetery in the distance. Only to see a vast expanse of gray, faintly seeing withered trees everywhere, countless Yin ghosts hiding behind the withered branches, eerily staring at the entrance of the cemetery. These Yin ghosts do not have their own consciousness, only have an instinctive desire for the vitality of living people. As long as they smell the vitality of living people, they will immediately swarm over like sharks smelling the scent of blood, devouring the person clean. Yin Corp sect outer sect disciples enter the Yin Qi cemetery in a team of at least 8 people. 2 are responsible for defense, 3 are responsible for killing Yin ghosts, and 2 are responsible for collecting the Yin Qi of Yin ghosts after they die. For someone like Yunjioga to come in alone is no different from courting death. At this time, Yunjioga is still in the safe area. As long as she steps into the Yin Qi cemetery, countless Yin ghosts will instantly swarm over, until she is drowned. Seeing that there is no one around, Yunjioga released the profound Yin white bone monkey puppet. The scattered white bones formed the shape of a small monkey. The white bone monkey's soul fire is ignited. It opened its mouth and spat out a gray light towards Yunjioga. Yunjioga carefully walked into the Yin Qi cemetery, only to find that the Yin ghosts did not see her, as if they are blind. "What's going on?" Yunjioga asked Zishang in surprise. This profound Yin white bone monkey is formed from the Yin Qi of heaven and earth. Its aura can cover up your living aura. That is why he said that this white bone monkey is a good helper for cultivating demonic techniques. So awesome. Yunjioga's eyes lit up, and immediately ordered the white bone monkey, "Go, kill them all." After saying that, he took out the Yin Qi bottle, ready to enjoy the fruits of others' labor. The little skeleton monkey shook its big head and took a step forward. Then, it opened its big mouth and sucked in with all its might. Those Yin ghosts screamed as they were pulled into its mouth, and then disappeared. Disappeared? Yunjioge holding the Yin Qi bottle was dumbfounded. This sovereign said it is very powerful. Zishang was still proud at the side. Powerful my ass. Where is the little helper? It ate all the Yin ghosts. What do I use to exchange for contribution points? Yunjioge said angrily. There's nothing I can do about it. This Yin energy is the food of the profound Yin white skeleton monkey. If it doesn't eat, it will be extremely hungry. If you want Yin energy, you can only work hard. Zishang shrugged and had a helpless expression. In fact, he had deliberately refined it like this. If Yunjioge could obtain Yin Qi so easily, there would be no need to talk about cultivation. Yunjioge could only take out the corpse control bell to control the bone spurs to kill the evil ghosts when he saw the little white skeleton monkey eating happily. In the beginning, she was not very proficient, but after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, she was able to control the white bone spike very nimbly, killing with one strike. Yunjioge killed more than 10 Yin ghosts and collected them all in the Yin Qi bottle. Rest for a while. Zishang reminded Yunjioge when he saw that the spiritual power in his body was almost depleted. Although Yunjioge could use the aura of the mysterious Yin white skeleton monkey to avoid the eyes and ears of low-level Yin ghosts, it was not a wise move to exhaust his spiritual power. Well, there aren't many Yin ghosts here. Let's go somewhere else. Yunjioge put away the Yin Qi bottle and planned to investigate the environment of the Yin Qi cemetery. She could only go so smoothly with the help of the mysterious Yin white skeleton monkey. But it was not possible to do this every time. Understanding the situation here would give her one more way out. Okay. Zishang held Yunjioge's hand and strolled in the gloomy cemetery. Behind the two of them was a short mysterious Yin white skeleton monkey. It was indescribably strange. Help! At this time, a panicked cry for help and a strange ghost howl came from the depths of the fog. It's a rank 2 Yin ghost. Zishang could tell the level of the ghost howl. This is still the outer area, how can there be a rank 2 Yin ghost? Yunjioge suddenly felt strange. A rank 2 Yin ghost in the cemetery was equivalent to a level 5 Qi training, it only appeared in the inner area. The token of the outer disciples could only move around the outer area of the Yin Qi cemetery, they could not enter the inner dangerous area. Probably some unlucky ghost encountered it. Zishang replied coldly. Let's go take a look. Yunjioge sneakily walked over, then secretly squatted behind a withered tree and peeked. He saw that the rank 2 Yin ghost's soul body was dense, it was dark gray, its head vaguely had a hideous shape, its speed was extremely fast, it was impossible to guard against. Other than this rank 2 Yin ghost, there were many rank 1 Yin ghosts gathered around, they were obviously under its control. High-level Yin ghosts had control over low-level Yin ghosts, the originally scattered and disorderly Yin ghosts were now stopped and attacked, it was also very difficult to deal with. The ones being attacked by the rank 2 Yin ghost were Shorty Chio's group. Before, there were 10 of them, but now there were only 3. It was unknown if they were killed by the Yin ghost, or if they were separated when escaping. Shorty Chio's group was followed by a white skeleton puppet. Unfortunately, their puppet's movements were very stiff, it was not a match for the rank 2 Yin ghost. Old Chio, we can't, this Yin ghost is too difficult to deal with. A skinny man shouted. Then let's retreat. Old Chio shouted. If we retreat like this, they will definitely split us up, we need someone to be the bait. The skinny man said. Needless to say, this bait definitely had no way out. When Yunjioge heard this, he immediately frowned. These evil cultivators were indeed different, they were willing to sacrifice their companions openly. Looking at their group, the injured disciple's white skeleton puppet was tightly protecting him. It did not look like it was willing to die. The only ones who did not have a white skeleton puppet protecting them were the Lu sisters. The sisters shook the corpse control bell, each controlling a white bone spike to attack the low-level Yin ghost. The two of them cooperated very well, killing many low-level Yin ghosts. Hearing the conversation between Shorty Chiu and the others, they roughly knew that the situation was not right. They gradually pulled away from Shorty Chiu's group. "Little beauty, the situation is special now, I can only wrong you." Although Shorty Chiu was lustful, he knew that if he protected the two little beauties at this time, his subordinates would definitely rebel against him. He could find beauties at any time, but he could not lose his position as the boss. "Big brother Chiu, what are you talking about? Little sister is more than happy to be able to serve everyone." Lu Mei'er did not seem to understand that Shorty Chiu wanted to send the sisters to their deaths. She still smiled and replied, "Little beauty is really good. If it wasn't because this rank 2 Yin ghost is too hard to deal with, Big Brother would also be reluctant to leave you." Shorty Chiu felt that it was a pity. Originally, he thought that after completing today's mission, he could bring them back to enjoy the blessings of beauties. If he knew it would be like this, he would have raped the two sisters before coming out. "That's right, little sister would also be reluctant to leave you guys." Lu Mei'er sighed. A mocking smile appeared on her beautiful face. "Shorty Chiu and the others have been cursed by the Lu sisters." Zi Shang suddenly whispered into Yunjioga's ear. Chapter 287. Where did they curse Shorty Chiu? Yunjioga found it troublesome not being able to open her spirit eye. It was like being blind. "See for yourself." A gray light flashed from Zi Shang's finger and landed on Yunjioga's forehead. The space between her eyebrows heated up, and her vision turned gray. The Yin ghost was dark gray while the Lu sisters were faint yellow. That was the color of earth spirit roots. Shorty Chiu and the other two all had black water spirit roots, but strangely, there was a red paper doll stuck on their backs. Lu Tian'er, who had been silent, was secretly forming seals to control the movements of the red paper dolls. The red paper doll raised its arm and Shorty Chiu and the other two rushed towards the rank 2 Yin ghost. Lu Tian'er took the chance to shout, "Go!" The two sisters immediately kept their bone spikes and ran. "Bitch, you dare to harm us!" Shorty Chiu was furious. He was trying to take advantage of them on the road, and the two sisters tried all kinds of ways to reject him. So they were trying to do something to him. Unfortunately, it was too late now. The rank 2 Yin ghost saw food and came to them automatically. There was no reason for it not to eat. It immediately led the Yin ghost forward and wrapped Shorty Chiu and the other two into a gray ball. Then it opened its gray mouth and wrapped Shorty Chiu's head. Shorty Chiu and the other two lost their life force quickly, and they quickly turned into dried corpses that turned into dust. This was the cruelty of Yin corpse sect. There were countless of disciples dying here every day. After the rank 2 Yin ghost swallowed Shorty Chiu and the other two, it continued to chase after the Lu sisters. Yunjioga followed without hesitation. She planned to wait for the rank 2 Yin ghost to get rid of the Lu sisters before trying to spar with the rank 2 Yin ghost to see how good she was. The Lu sisters did not say a word and ran for their lives. Originally they cursed Shorty Chiu because they wanted to hypnotize him when he was begging for sex. They did not expect to encounter the attack of the rank 2 Yin ghost. "Sister, the rank 2 Yin ghost is catching up." Lu Tian'er quickly took out her white bone spike. She did not expect Shorty Chiu and the other two to be so useless that they could not even stop a rank 2 Yin ghost. "Fight!" Lu Mei'er saw that she could not escape, so she stopped and fought alongside her sister. The corpse controlling bell let out a ringing sound. 2 white bone spikes flew out of the inventory bag. The two sisters could only control 1 white bone spike each in front of Shorty Chiu earlier. Now, they could control 2 white bone spikes each. It was obvious that they had hidden their strength. 4 white bone spikes simultaneously pierced towards the level 2 Een ghost. The level 2 Een ghost was very cunning. It hid behind the low-level Een ghost and did not confront the 2 sisters head-on. I didn't expect these 2 sisters to be so loyal. Yun Jioge had originally thought that the sisters would flee for their lives in the face of disaster. He never expected that they would fight side by side. At that moment, Zi Shang suddenly said to Yun Jioge, "There's something strange about these 2 sisters." "What's strange? Why couldn't she see it? That Lu Tianer's physique is very special. You can't see it because she used a secret technique to conceal it. This technique is not bad." As Zi Shang spoke, he suddenly flicked his finger and sent a stream of demonic power towards the level 2 Een ghost. The level 2 Een ghost was originally hiding behind the low-level Een ghosts, ready to attack at any time. Once it was stimulated by Zi Shang's demonic power, it immediately charged forward as if it had been injected with chicken blood, instantly breaking through the sisters' blockade. "I'll cover you, you leave quickly." Lu Mei immediately blocked in front of Lu Tianer. The 2 white bone spikes shone brightly and turned into a meteor that pierced towards the level 2 Een ghost. Unexpectedly, the level 2 Een ghost did not dodge. After taking the 2 white bone spikes head-on, its grey arms suddenly expanded and hit Lu Mei's chest. Lu Mei staggered back 2 steps. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. Her face was instantly shrouded in a layer of grey qi. That was the symptom of cold Een qi entering her body. "Sister." Seeing that her sister was injured, Lu Tianer was so anxious that her eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth and took out a red paper doll from her storage bag. This red paper doll was very exquisitely cut. Its facial features were vivid and lifelike. It was simply a carving of Lu Tianer. Lu Tianer slapped the red paper doll onto her chest, and her eyes instantly turned red. Her hair stood up, and her nails grew like sharp black blades. The level 2 Een ghost was quite afraid of the transformed Lu Tianer. It immediately summoned a low-level Een ghost to block in front of it. Lu Tianer rushed forward. With a wave of her nails, she tore the low-level Een ghosts to pieces. Then she fought with the level 2 Een ghost. Unexpectedly, they were evenly matched. 9 Yudao body? Zi Shang's grey eyes flashed with surprise. This Lu Tianer's physique was completely out of his expectations. 9 Yudao body? Isn't that the most suitable body for refining Een corpses? Yun Jioge was also shocked. This Lu Tianer herself has the 9 Yudao body. She actually came to the Een corpse sect to cultivate the Een corpse bone-controlling art. Isn't this the same as turning herself into a living corpse? Does Lu Tianer not know that I have the 9 Yudao body? But looking at the way she cursed me, it was clear that she knew about my special physique. Moreover, she was using it very well. While Yun Jioge was still in shock, Lu Tianer gradually fell into a disadvantage against the level 2 Een ghost. After Lu Mei suppressed the death energy in her body, she immediately shook the corpse-controlling bell and shouted, "Don't fight it head-on. Its weakness is its head." Under her sister's command, Lu Tianer's attacks immediately became more flexible. Every move she made was aimed at the head of the level 2 Een ghost. With Lu Mei's cooperation, the 2 sisters actually succeeded in taking out the soul crystal in the head of the level 2 Een ghost. Without the soul crystal, the level 2 Een ghost immediately turned into a cloud of dense Een qi. Lu Mei controlled the Een qi bottle and the cloud of Een qi flew into the bottle. Lu Mei put away the Een qi bottle and took out 2 grey death qi talismans. This death qi talisman could temporarily isolate the body's vitality. However, the time was very short. It was not enough time to leave the Een qi cemetery, so it was not very effective. Lu Mei put the Yin Qi talisman on herself and Lu Tian'er. Then she pulled off the red paper man that had already lost its luster from Lu Tian'er's chest. Lu Tian'er's red eyes returned to their original state, and her hair that was standing on end also fell down. She weakly lay on the ground and pitifully shouted to Lu Mei, "Sister." "Pa!" Lu Mei unexpectedly slapped her and fiercely scolded, "How many times have I told you, you're not allowed to use this trick again? Do you want to die? If you want to die, then say it earlier. Why did I have to suffer that old man's torture for you?" While scolding her, Lu Mei also couldn't help but cry. She knew that her sister wanted to save her. She could only blame herself for not having the ability to protect her sister. "Sister, don't cry, I was wrong." Lu Tian'er's eyes were also red. She reached out her hand to wipe away Lu Mei's tears. "Get up." Lu Mei quickly stopped crying. She said with red eyes, "Go back and cultivate." She wanted to become strong enough to trample on the people that bullied her sisters. Strong enough to kill that old monster and then go back to her uncle's family for revenge. At that time, she would definitely refine them into Yin corpses. She would torture them day and night. She would make them suffer 1,000 times over. Chapter 288. Yunjioge silently watched as the two sisters supported each other as they left. He felt that their story was very tragic. This Lu Tian'er's 9 Hell Dao body is not bad. If it is refined into a Yin corpse, its power will double. Do you want to consider it? Zi Shang said. This 1,000-year-old corpse was, after all, a fake. It was not as useful to Yunjioge as the real thing. You've only joined the Yin corpse sect for a few days, and you really think that you're an evil cultivator? Yunjioge rolled his eyes at Zi Shang. She came here to save her life, not to refine Yin corpses. With such a good physique, don't you think it's a pity to leave it to the Yin corpse sect? Zi Shang felt that it would be a waste not to take it. Of course we can't leave it to them. Yunjioge still viewed the Yin corpse sect as an enemy. Of course, he couldn't do something like this that would increase the enemy's strength. But for her to refine Lu Tian'er into a Yin corpse, just thinking about it made her feel ashamed. Since you don't want Lu Tian'er, you might as well kill her. It was normal for Zi Shang to destroy what he couldn't obtain. What you are doing is no different from declaring your position. Yunjioge knew that Zi Shang was not a good demon, but he did not expect him to be so evil. If he killed someone because of his own selfishness, sooner or later, he would become a devil who would not recognize his own family. You don't want it, but you don't want to give it to others. What do you want? Zi Shang felt that Yunjioge was being unreasonable. The sisters are hiding very well now. If they are really exposed, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Yunjioge decided to take one step at a time. If the Lu sisters' identities were really exposed, it wouldn't be too late for her to make a decision at that time. Looking at the two sisters, they were not willing to be someone else's Yin corpses. Yunjioge strolled around the Yin energy cemetery for a while, then left with the Yin energy bottle. She handed over a bottle of Yin energy in exchange for 100 contribution points, which she used to pay half a month's rent. She did not immediately exchange the remaining Yin Qi for contribution points. Instead, she took it back to her bungalow and prepared to concoct pills. The Yin Qi pills provided by the Yin Corpse sect were too low level, the absorption effect was very poor. As an alchemist, she could not tolerate herself taking such inferior pills for a long time, so she intended to refine her own Yin Qi pill. Right now, she was already at the second level of Qi refining and could already operate the alchemy furnace. If he used it carefully, he could still refine a batch of Yin energy pills. Yunjioge took out the small bronze cauldron and asked Zi Shang to help him set up an array to conceal his spiritual power. Then, he hid in the house and began to refine pills. She first asked Zishang to help her refine the yin qi into pure yin energy. The entire bottle was filled to the brim with yin qi, but in the end, it was only a small cup of pure yin qi. Then, she took out the yin spirit grass that she had collected before and began to process it. The yin spirit grass looked like a woman's hair. It was thin and soft. After burning it into ashes and mixing it with pure yin spirit grass, it could be placed into the alchemy furnace to be refined. The white bone fire in Yunjioga's dantian had been squeezed into a corner by the 9-stage bone shatterer's poison, so he could only use his spiritual power to draw out a bit of it to make his alchemic fire. Fortunately, the time needed to refine the yin qi dan was very short, and her spiritual power was still enough to use. However, refining one furnace of yin qi dan was also very tiring for her. This furnace produced more than 300 yin energy pills, and the quality was also high, enough for her to eat for a long time. After Yunjioga refined the yin energy pill, he went to the mission hall to accept the mission of killing yin ghosts. Then, he bought a yin energy bottle that could absorb 500 yin ghosts and went to the yin energy cemetery to kill yin ghosts. This time, her killing was very smooth. After a day, the 2 yin energy bottles were filled to the brim. When he came back at night, he took a look at the Lu sisters' house. Their door was still closed. They were probably still cultivating. "Senior brother Yunjio, you're back. It seems that today's harvest is not bad." Little Fatty appeared at the door with a smile. Yunjioga looked at him indifferently. Was he going to enter the house? "Senior brother Yunjio, I have the latest news about the Yin Corpse sect. Do you want to buy some information?" Little Fatty said quickly. "Buy information?" Yunjioga stopped and looked at Little Fatty from head to toe. "What information do you have to buy? Anything you want to hear." Little Fatty saw that he had a plan and immediately became spirited. He said eloquently, including the strategies of various missions, the various movements of the sect, the preferences of the various elders, the fastest way to enter the inner sect, the cultivation abilities of the senior brothers and sisters. Hearing this, Yunjioga's heart suddenly moved. She had always wanted to find out about Su Junqing, Yi Yunji, Si Yuyue, and the demon corpse. Maybe she could really get the information she wanted from this Little Fatty. However, she did not ask rashly. Instead, she asked, "How do I know if your information is reliable or not?" "You don't have to worry about this. I have an uncle who is the steward of the inner sect. He has worked here for more than 50 years. There is nothing he doesn't know," Little Fatty said quickly. "Your uncle is the steward of the inner sect. Why didn't you come in with a referral token?" The steward of the inner sect was much higher than Yin Shirley, the steward of the outer sect. If Little Fatty wanted to come in, he could come in as he pleased. "I wanted to see if there were any capable people coming to the Yin Corpse sect this year, so I went to participate in the preliminary selection." "You don't say, there were a few good seedlings in this preliminary selection. I heard that there was a male disciple with a natural dark spirit root. He was directly taken in as a disciple by the sect master," Little Fatty said non-stop. This Little Fatty really loved to collect gossip. Yunjioga trusted him a little more in her heart. She asked, "If that's the case, then I'll buy some information from you." Okay, but should we go somewhere else to discuss business?" Little Fatty said. People in their line of work were still very concerned about privacy. "Come in." Yunjioga opened the door and invited Little Fatty in. Little Fatty secretly looked around the room and found that there were no signs of anything being added. Usually, after the outer sect disciples were assigned a residence, they would add some things to make their living more comfortable. It seemed that this Yunjio was a cultivation maniac. Yunjioga did not care about Little Fatty's gaze. He directly asked, "I want to ask about the Lu sisters next door. Do you sell them here?" "Senior brother Yunjio, you have found the right person. I have the Lu sisters' measurements, their daily schedule, and their hobbies. It's only 10 contribution points. Little Fatty's expression immediately became ambiguous. He revealed an expression that said, "You know what I'm talking about. I'm not interested in these things. I want to know their background." "The more detailed, the better," Yunjioge said coldly. Little Fatty was stunned. His expression suddenly became serious. He said, "The Lu sisters' background is not ordinary. It can be said to be our sect's secret. If you want to know, you need at least 500 contribution points." 500 contribution points? Yunjioge frowned. This was even more expensive than the puppet cultivation method. Could it be that Little Fatty knew that the two sisters had special constitutions, so he deliberately charged such a high price? Chapter 289. That's right. Little Fatty nodded solemnly, then chuckled. "Actually, senior brother Yunjio doesn't have to do this. As long as you figure out the Lu sisters' hobbies, when the time comes, you can capture them as well. Wouldn't it be easy to find out their background?" Yunjioge said expressionlessly, "You better pray that it's worth 500 contribution points. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you. You really want to buy it?" Little Fatty was shocked. The Lu sisters' background was indeed a secret, which was why he offered such a high price. Previously, many people had asked him about it, but once they heard the price, they were all scared away. "Yes." Yunjioge took out the huge Yin-Chi bottle and threw it to Little Fatty. "This Yin-Chi should be enough for 500 contribution points." Originally, she wanted to use the Yin-Chi to exchange for a bone-controlling technique, but since she found out about the Lu sisters' uniqueness, she felt that there was a need to understand their background. Little Fatty took the Yin-Chi bottle and checked it. Indeed, it was worth 500 contribution points. Since there was money to be paid, even the most confidential information could be revealed. Don't be fooled by the Lu sisters' weak appearance, they actually have a great background. Little Fatty stuttered and told him about the Lu sisters' background. It turned out that the two sisters came from the Lu family in the Black Fiend sect's territory. The Lu family had 2 foundation establishment cultivators overseeing it, and its power was one of the top in the area. Although the sisters' father was only at the great perfection of Qi refinement, because he was the clan leader and the sisters' cultivation talent was outstanding, they were nurtured by the clan. Unfortunately, good times didn't last long. Their father died during a mission. After their uncle became the new clan leader, the sisters' status was not as good as before. The clan elders wanted them to take good care of them. When the time came, they would marry into other clans, which would be a great help. This was the usual style of large clans. As the main family's daughter, the two sisters would not marry into poor families. However, their uncle was not a good person. He received a bribe from an evil cultivator and actually secretly sent the two sisters out to be human cauldrons. The two sisters suffered greatly at the hands of that evil cultivator, and after escaping, they joined the Yin Corp sect. After Little Fatty finished speaking, he poured a cup of tea to moisten his throat. "That's it?" Yunjioge raised his eyebrows. "What about the special physique?" "Senior brother Yunjio, the Lu sisters are fugitives. If their identities are leaked, they won't have a good ending. Isn't that confidential enough?" Little Fatty's eyes widened. No matter who it was, they could use this secret to do whatever they wanted to the Lu sisters, ensuring that they wouldn't dare to make a sound. It was only because he saw that Yunjio did not seem like a lustful person that he sold this secret to her. "Where did you get this secret?" Well, she was surprised that the Lu sisters were fugitives. "Our Yin Corp sect seems to accept disciples very casually, but we actually check very strictly. However, things like secrets should only be kept between you and me. It won't do either of us any good if we reveal it." Little Fatty's face was smiling, but his words carried a hint of threat. If he dared to sell such important information, he must have a backer. Yunjioge naturally wouldn't tell anyone about the Lu sisters' past. She was more curious about the Yin Corp sect's attitude. Since they know that the Lu sisters are fugitives, why did they still accept them? Aren't they afraid of trouble? The Lu family and that evil cultivator old monster aren't anything special. If he dares to come here to take people, then he will have to pay the corresponding price. To put it bluntly, the Yin Corp sect was doing business without capital and wanted to extort money from the Lu family and the evil cultivator old monster. Then do you know how the Lu sisters escaped from the evil hands of that old monster? Yunjioge was still quite curious about this. I heard that when the old monster was plucking them, they took the opportunity to cut his lower part and escaped. Little Fatty's face revealed a sour expression. Even a golden core ancestor couldn't take a cut on his lower part. These two sisters were indeed fierce. Although Yunjioge didn't have any ***, she could imagine that the pain must be unbearable. Seeing that senior brother Yunjio is so generous, I'll give you another piece of information. Little Fatty lowered his voice and said mysteriously, I heard that senior brother Su Junqing is very interested in this pair of sisters. If you like them, you have to keep an eye on them, or else you'll get nothing. Su Junqing? Yunjioge narrowed her eyes. This name was really detestable. But since Little Fatty mentioned it, she also took the opportunity to ask, do you know the origin of this senior brother Su Junqing? Of course, 50 contribution points. Little Fatty stretched out a palm. Although this price was cheaper than the Lu sisters, Yunjioge didn't even have a single contribution point on hand, nor did she have any Yin Chi bottles to exchange. She thought about it and asked Little Fatty, do you want to exchange Yin Chi pills? In the Yin Corp sect, one Yin Chi pill could be exchanged for 1 contribution point. You still have Yin Chi pills? Little Fatty was quite surprised. Usually, new disciples would take Yin Chi pills to break through to the first level of Chi refinement. I know an alchemist, and I got some good Yin Chi pills from him. Yunjioge took out a small jade bottle. Let me have a look. Little Fatty took Yunjioge's Yin Chi pill and smelled it. His eyes immediately lit up, this Yin Chi pill is not bad. One is worth 10 contribution points. Trade. Little Fatty's price was quite reasonable. Yunjioge gave him 5 Yin Chi pills. Fatty rambled on and on about Su Junqing's background. A disciple of the bloodthirsty sect. He sold little girls in the Thunder Country's Shangjing. He even colluded with the Thunder Country's former crown prince, Dongfang Jianming. He wanted to kill the Medicine Refining Valley's Grandmaster Dongfang. In the end, the Spiritualist Alliance surrounded the Blood Cloud Peak. Yunjioge knew these things better than Little Fatty. What she wanted to know was what happened after he entered the Yin Corp sect. Little Fatty rambled on and on, quickly talking about Su Junqing entering the Yin Corp sect. After Su Junqing entered the Yin Corp sect with Si Yueyue, he didn't wait for Si Yueyue to return. He used his beauty to hook up with Elder Mo Hua and successfully entered the Ink Flower Peak as an inner disciple. Following that, he successfully refined his own Yin corpses. His strength greatly increased and his status in the Ink Flower Peak also rose along with it. Wait a minute, you said he refined his own Yin corpse? Yunjioge frowned and asked, didn't they say that finding a suitable Yin Chi corpse is very difficult? He only joined the Yin Corp sect for a few days, how did he find one? That's right, his luck was good. He brought back a female slave from the Blood Cloud Peak. He never thought she would have a Yin spirit physique. She was very compatible with him, so he directly refined her. When Little Fatty said this, he couldn't help secretly sighing at Su Junqing's good luck. He went under the tutelage of Elder Mo Hua. If he went under the tutelage of another male elder, this Yin spirit physique woman would not have been his turn. He already knew that a Yin spirit physique woman would be compatible with anyone. When Yunjioge heard the words Blood Cloud Peak female slave, her heart skipped a beat. She quickly asked, "Have you seen his corpse?" "My uncle has seen it. He said it was very beautiful. There was even a red mole between her eyebrows." Little Fatty's words made Yunjioga's heart sink. Chapter 290. Yi Yunji, it had to be Yi Yunji. Yunjioga's heart trembled, she never thought she would receive this kind of news. Zi Shang forcefully squeezed Yunjioga's hand and she came back to her senses. "Senior brother Yun, what's wrong?" Little Fatty's eyes kept looking at Yunjioga's face. It was a good thing that Yunjioga's poisoned face could not show any expression, otherwise Little Fatty would have seen it. "I just feel that this senior brother Su really has a good life." Yunjioga suppressed her anger and continued to ask, "You just said that senior brother Su Junqing likes the Lu sisters, does he have bad intentions towards them?" "I don't know about this, but it can't be anything good." It could be seen that Little Fatty was also very disdainful of this Su Junqing. "Then if you have any news about Su Junqing doing anything to the Lu sisters, we can discuss the price," Yunjioga logically said. "No problem." Little Fatty was very satisfied with another regular customer. Yunjioga actually wanted to ask about Si Yue. But she was afraid that asking too much would make Little Fatty suspicious, so she gave up. "If senior brother doesn't have anything else, then I'll leave first." Little Fatty was also very busy. After Yunjioga sent Little Fatty away, she closed the door and asked Zi Shang, "Do you think what he said was true? Did Su Junqing really refine Yi Yunji into a corpse? What he said just now was the truth." Zi Shang was hidden on the side, he had already used his demon eye to confirm that Little Fatty's news was true. That bastard Su Junqing. It was not enough to harm Yi Yunji like that, he even refined her into a corpse. Not killing him was simply intolerable. Right now Su Junqing is in the limelight of the corpse sect, it is too risky for you to find him for revenge. Zi Shang calmly said. He brought Yunjioga to the corpse sect to cultivate and expel the poison, everything else had to be put aside. "I know." Yunjioga forcefully closed her eyes and when she opened them, she had already calmed down. Cultivation was the most important thing. The most important thing for her right now was to go to the Qi cemetery to collect Qi and refine the Qi pill. The further she went, the worse the Qi pill would be. At that time, she would have to refine the Qi pill. This gathering pill required the 3 nether flower and moths. The flowers and plants of 3 nether grew in the inner area of the energy cemetery. It was not a problem for her to sneak in and pick them with the help of the skeleton monkey. However, the moths resided in the moth valley of the energy cemetery. One person could not catch many of them, so he had to cooperate with others. It seemed that he needed to change his cold and eccentric persona and find some reliable people to cooperate with. Fortunately, Yunjioga was only at the 3rd level of Qi refinement. There was still some time before he could advance to the 5th level, so he could take his time to search. The next day, Yunjioga went out to kill ghosts again. When he returned to hand in his mission, he happened to see Lu Meier being entangled by Broom Chen and his gang. Little Beauty, Shorty Chiu and his gang are all dead. You should hurry up and find someone to rely on. Otherwise, how are you going to maintain your pretty face? Broom Chen said with a smile. The disciples behind him had become much stronger. Shorty Chiu's subordinates had already switched sides and joined his camp. Among the outer sect disciples, whoever had the bigger fist had the right to speak. If it was a normal day, Lu Meier wouldn't mind entering Broom Chen's camp to flatter him. But she was not in the mood right now. Ever since her little sister used the 9 nether ghost body, her situation had not been good. The cold energy in her body had gathered in her body and could not be released. She did not dare ask someone to see her, so she could only stay by her side day and night. Her entire person was extremely irritable. Now seeing Broom Chen's disgusting face, she was even more annoyed. She directly scolded him, "Scram, don't cause trouble in front of this ant. Smelly whore, don't be so shameless. Brothers, go and teach her how to be a person." Broom Chen flew into a rage out of humiliation. He called out to his subordinates to teach Lu Mei-er a lesson. The surrounding disciples silently walked away. No one wanted to get involved in this muddy water. Although the Een Corp sect did not allow fighting on the surface, if the law enforcement team did not see it, no one would care. Lu Mei-er touched her storage bag, wanting to take out the corpse controlling bell and Broom Chen. At this time, a gentle voice rang out, "What are you doing? Don't you know fighting is forbidden in the sect?" Following that, Su Juanqing's handsome face appeared in front of everyone. Senior Su misunderstood. "We were just chatting. Isn't that right, junior sister Lu?" Broom Chen warned Lu Mei-er. "This ant has nothing to talk about with you." Lu Mei-er did not put him in her eyes at all. Broom Chen's face immediately became ugly. "Didn't you hear junior sister Lu's words? Why aren't you scramming?" Su Juanqing was clearly standing on Lu Mei-er's side. Yes, yes, yes. Broom Chen was powerful among the outer disciples. But in front of Su Juanqing, an inner disciple, he was nothing. He immediately tucked his tail between his legs. He brought his subordinates and left. "Junior sister Lu, are you all right?" Su Juanqing gently looked at Lu Mei-er. "Many thanks to Senior Su for helping me out." Lu Mei-er gratefully smiled. "It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. I heard your sister was injured. Is it serious? Do you want me to take a look?" Su Juanqing enthusiastically asked. Lu Mei-er's face paled when she heard this. She shook her head and refused, "Many thanks for Senior Su's concern. My sister's injury is no longer a problem. I still have a task to hand in, so I won't disturb Senior Su." After saying that, she hurriedly walked into the task hall. Su Juanqing looked at Lu Mei-er's slim figure. His eyes darkened, but he did not chase after her. Instead, he turned around and left. "Chase after her." Zi Shang whispered into Yunjioga's ear. He knew that Yunjioga really wanted to kill Su Juanqing. Although she could not do it now, she could still find out some information. Zi Shang's words were exactly what Yunjioga wanted. She immediately concealed herself and followed behind Su Juanqing. She did not expect Su Juanqing to actually go find Broom Chen. "Looks like you've been doing well recently." Su Juanqing's attitude was very casual. From his tone, it was clear that he was acquainted with Broom Chen. Broom Chen's face was filled with a flattering smile. He said in an obsequious manner, "Many thanks to Senior Su for helping me get rid of Shorty Chiu. Now, the second peak is our territory. Don't worry, I will definitely help you get the Lu sisters. Do well, I won't mistreat you." Su Juanqing nodded in satisfaction. His foundation in the corpse sect was too weak. He had always wanted to rope in his own forces. It just so happened that this Broom Chen was relying on him. He used a little trick to lure out a level 2 Een ghost from the inner circle to help him get rid of his opponent, Shorty Chiu. However, Broom Chen was still a bit useless. He kept saying that he would help him get the Lu sisters, but there was no progress until now. Although Su Juanqing cultivated the bewitching art, it was not good to use it on the Lu sisters. Otherwise, those senior brothers and sisters who did not like him would definitely fiercely sue him. Although the corpse sect's rules were very loose, publicly murdering a fellow sect disciple would still be heavily punished. Of course, if you secretly murdered someone, it was another matter as long as no one found out. Chapter 291. Yunjioga looked at this scene from afar. She really wanted to punch Su Junqing. This scumbag was really despicable and shameless. He would harm women wherever he went. Originally, Yun Jioge treated the Lu sisters as enemies. But now, she felt that they could be partners and fight against Su Junqing together. My king, what do you think I should do to win over those two sisters? Yun Jioge humbly asked Zishang for advice. She wasn't good at picking up girls. First, tell them that you already know their identity as female slaves and their 9 hell ghost body. Second, give them some benefits. Let them know that they will have meat to eat if they follow you. Finally, use them to fight against Su Junqing. Zishang explained. Isn't that too direct? Yun Jioge originally wanted to start off as friends with the Lu sisters. With their experience, it's better to be direct. Zishang had a look of, listen to me. Makes sense. Yun Jioge nodded. She didn't have the time or the mood to talk about feelings with the Lu sisters. When the time comes, you can show them your true self. They will know that you have no ill intentions towards them. Zishang was very confident in his acting as a 1,000-year-old corpse. Even 10 9-hell Taoist bodies couldn't compare. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Yun Jioge's attitude was very perfunctory. She felt that she was fine now. She didn't want to let Zishang out and cause trouble at all. It'll be too late. Zishang was very unhappy with Yun Jioge's attitude. Yun Jioge ignored him. She went back to the bungalow and knocked on the Lu sisters' door. Who is it? Lu Meier's voice sounded. I, Yun Jioge, have something to discuss with you. Yun Jioge said calmly. I don't have time right now. We'll talk tomorrow. Lu Meier's tone sounded very perfunctory. No, I want to say it now. If you don't come out, don't blame me for barging in. Yun Jioge's attitude was very firm. The door opened very quickly. Lu Meier's beautiful face appeared from the gap. She said impatiently, if you have something to say it quickly. I already know your background and your sister's body. Before Yun Jioge could finish, he was pulled into the room by Lu Meier. A white bone spear hung in the air and aimed straight at Yun Jioge's face. You can't kill me. Yun Jioge's attitude was firm. Zishang was standing behind Lu Meier. Lu Meier's eyes were bloodshot and her aura was exploding, as if she wanted to swallow Yun Jioge whole. Sister, let him come in to talk. Lu Tianer's voice was heard along with the sound of banging. Little sister. Lu Meier couldn't be bothered to confront Yun Jioge. She hurriedly entered the inner room. Yun Jioge followed her into the room and saw Lu Tianer lying on the floor, struggling to get up with the help of the bed. You're already like this, why are you still struggling? Lu Meier quickly went over to help Lu Tianer up. Lu Tianer's face was particularly ugly. Her face was ashen and her eyes were red. Her vitality was also very weak. This was the side effect of using the Netherworld Tao body. If he used it a few more times, her vitality would be completely cut off and she would become a living corpse. Put her on the bed. I have a way to suck out the cold energy from her body. After saying that, Yun Jioge brought out the Thunderfire needle. I don't need your fake kindness. Lu Meier glared at Yun Jioge fiercely. It was obvious that she didn't believe her words. She's already like this. If we don't treat her, I'm afraid that the entire Een Corpse sect will know about her body constitution. Yun Jioge wasn't afraid that Lu Meier wouldn't give in. Sister, let's just treat a dead horse like a living horse. Lu Tianer said weakly. Only then did Lu Meier carry Lu Tianer back to the bed. Then, she guarded by the side and stared at Yun Jioge like she was looking at a pervert. Yun Jioge didn't mind. He first checked Lu Tianer's pulse and found that it was so weak that he couldn't feel it. Her situation was very dangerous. Although she couldn't open her spiritual eye, she could still use other methods to check the situation in Lu Tian'er's body. Later, I will send a stream of Yin energy into your body to check. Don't resist. Yun Jioge said solemnly. Lu Tian'er nodded. Yun Jioge then released a stream of Yin energy into her pulse. She carefully checked the situation of her meridians and memorized the blocked areas. After she finished checking, she took out the thunder fire needle and started to use her acupuncture technique. Streaks of red light landed on Lu Tian'er's blocked meridians, leaving countless densely packed needle holes. Then, countless grayish-black water droplets seeped out of the needle holes. Lu Tian'er's complexion started to improve. Her grayish-white lips also had some color. After Yun Jioge kept the needle, he said, "Try to circulate a big cycle." Lu Tian'er immediately sat cross-legged and circulated her technique. The grayish-black water droplets turned into mist and surged out, covering her body. Lu Mei-er was extremely nervous and quickly asked Yun Jioge, "What's going on?" "Good situation," Yun Jioge said indifferently. Lu Tian'er quickly finished circulating her technique. Her complexion instantly returned to normal. She looked like nothing had happened. "Brother Yunjiu, you're so amazing." Lu Tian'er's eyes lit up as she looked at Yun Jioge and asked, "Such amazing acupuncture technique. Where did you learn it from?" Yun Jioge didn't answer Lu Tian'er's question. Instead, he said, "I came to find you guys to discuss a deal." "What deal?" Lu Mei-er asked with a calm face. "Of course it's a deal that's beneficial to you. Don't worry. I'm not interested in refining you into Yin corpses. However, your cultivation is too low right now. Let's talk about it when your cultivation is higher." Although Yun Jioge wanted to rope in the Lu sisters, he couldn't immediately tell them his goal. Otherwise, he would have nowhere to cry if they sold him out. Lu Mei-er scrutinized Yun Jioge. Unfortunately, his demonic face didn't have any expression, so she couldn't see anything. "Brother Yun Jioge, you saved me. You're my benefactor. I'll do anything you want me to do," Lu Tian'er said naively. "Don't be silly. Be careful that you don't know you'll be sold," Lu Mei-er scolded. "Brother Yun Jioge isn't that kind of person." Lu Tian'er pouted and said with a bit of grievance. The sisters echoed each other and acted very well. Unfortunately, Yun Jioge didn't fall for it. "Tomorrow, wait for me at the Yin Chi Cemetery's entrance." Yun Jioge threw down these words and left. Lu Tian'er pretended to be in a daze as she watched Yun Jioge leave. When he disappeared and the door closed, the expression in her eyes changed. She asked Lu Mei-er seriously, "Sister, what do you think? I can't see through this Yun Jioge. However, since he knows your secret, we can't let him live," Lu Mei-er said ruthlessly. She didn't believe that Yun Jioge wasn't interested in her sister's special constitution. Chapter 292. Then we have to prepare tomorrow. Lu Tian'er's current appearance did not have the slightest bit of cuteness, her ruthlessness was not inferior to her sister. Zi Shang heard the conversation between the two sisters and immediately said to Yun Jioge with schadenfreude, "Those two sisters are preparing to get rid of you in the Yin Chi cemetery tomorrow. What are you laughing at? Aren't you afraid that your mouth will go crooked?" Yun Jioge was extremely depressed. Did she really have to introduce Zi Shang, this beast? "Wash your neck and wait, this sovereign will not help you." Zi Shang smiled and patted Yun Jioge's shoulder. "Little guy, you deserve it for being perfunctory with this sovereign." Yun Jioge was also worried that she would fail miserably tomorrow, so after carefully checking the storage bag, she let out the Xianyin white bone monkey to practice. In this period of time, she realized that this Xianyin white bone monkey was quite intelligent. Although it could not speak, the soul fire in its eyes was very lively and could represent all kinds of emotions. For example, it liked to go to the Yin Chi cemetery the most. Every time it went there to kill Yin ghosts, its soul fire would jump very fiercely. But once it disintegrated into white bones and put into a belt, it would look like it had nothing to live for. Little monkey, if you perform well tomorrow, big sister will refine something good for you to eat. Yunjioga stated her condition. She realized that if this Xian white bone monkey could automatically cooperate, then its attack power would be much stronger. The Xian white bone monkey stood there blankly, its soul fire did not have any reaction, as if it did not understand what Yunjioga meant. You have not tasted the Yin Chi water yet, right? Come. Yunjioga took out a Yin Chi bottle, condensed the Yin Chi inside into water, and dissolved the Yin Chi Dan in it. Then, she dipped a brush in the water and rubbed it on the Xian white bone monkey's head. The Xian white bone monkey's soul fire immediately soared, its two small arms could not help but move upwards, it was very obvious that it liked the Yin Chi water. You like it, right? Work hard tomorrow, big sister will make sure you are full. Yunjioga squinted her eyes and laughed treacherously. If it was full now, how would it work tomorrow? How could the little white bone monkey be Yunjioga's opponent? Its nimble fire expanded and contracted, as if it was nodding. Beast, you won't even let the white bone monkey go. Zishang finally found a chance to ridicule Yunjioga. It was rare that Yunjioga did not retort. As long as it was useful, then so be it. The next morning, Yunjioga arrived at the entrance of the Yin Energy Cemetery. The Lu sisters were already waiting there. As usual, Lu Mei-er put on a dark face and nodded coldly at her. Lu Tian'er continued to act innocent as she greeted Yunjioga innocently. Good morning, brother Yunjio. Come with me to kill the evil ghost, and we will divide the Yin Chi equally. Yunjioga had the same attitude towards the two sisters, expressionless. Don't worry, brother Yunjio can give me as much as you want. Lu Tian'er's eyes curved into a smile. The girl next door's charming appearance was indeed very easy to gain the favor of men. Unfortunately, Yunjioga was a transvestite disguised as a man. He ignored Lu Tian'er's cute act and walked into the Yin Chi cemetery first. The Lu sisters glanced at each other and followed him in. The Yin Energy cemetery was still bone-piercingly cold. Low-level evil ghosts were floating everywhere, and when they saw Yunjioga and the other two enter, they immediately surged forward. Lu Tian'er and Lu Mei-er took out two white bone spears and made a defensive posture. However, the white bone spears were very close to Yunjioga, and they could basically stab Yunjioga in the chest with a backhand. Yunjioga did not care. He took out a small bag and threw it down, shouting, "Come out, little monkey." Thin white bones flew out of the small bag and formed the shape of a little monkey with a big head. Brother Yunjio is too amazing. You have your own white bone puppet so quickly. But this little monkey is too cute. Lu Tian'er implied that cuteness could not be eaten. You don't need to defend, just focus on killing the evil ghosts. Yunjioga pinched his fingers and drew the Yin Chi from the little white bone to the three of them. The Yin ghosts immediately stopped their attacks. However, the Yin Chi distributed among the three of them was not enough. The Yin Chi still floated out faintly, causing the evil ghosts to circle around them. The Lu sisters did not expect such a situation. They originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos to kill Yunjioga the moment the evil ghosts rushed up, but now it seemed that it was not feasible. Brother Yunjio, this little monkey is so powerful, how did you refine it? Lu Tian'er could not help but ask. If she and her sister could also have such a white bone monkey, they would not have to sell their bodies everywhere to find cultivation resources. This is a mystic Yin white bone monkey that I found by chance. Yunjioga's tone was very calm, as if he was very proud, but he did not say anything. Mystic Yin white bone monkey? Lu Tian'er's eyes widened. This thing was an evil treasure. She did not expect Yunjioge to be able to get such a good thing. Lu Mei's fiery gaze turned to the white bone monkey, and a white bone spear in the Qianquan bag quietly emerged. "Sister, I don't have enough yin qi bottles, give it to me." Lu Tian'er suddenly said to Lu Mei, but her eyes were filled with disapproval. Now was not the time to make a move. "Oh, okay." Lu Mei immediately sobered up, and the white bone spear quietly returned to the storage bag. The two sisters quickly changed their strategy and concentrated on fighting the yin ghosts. After all, the yin qi was good stuff. Yunjioge also commanded the white bone spear to kill the yin ghosts. Unexpectedly, after the white bone monkey finished absorbing the yin ghosts, it opened its mouth and spat out a pure yin qi at Yunjioge's yin qi bottle. The Lu sisters were dumbfounded. Being able to kill and take, this white bone monkey was simply a treasure. Yunjioge was also very surprised. One must know that the white bone monkey was only concerned about eating and never paid attention to her. It seemed like the yin qi feast last night made it wake up. After all, the refined yin qi was much more delicious than these low-level yin ghosts. Yunjioge put away the white bone spear and concentrated on collecting the yin qi. Soon, he filled a big bottle. "Let's rest for a while." Yunjioge saw the Lu sisters were panting, so he decided to let them rest first. "Okay." Lu Tian'er was also tired to the point that her face was a little pale. She had just recovered from a serious illness, and after fighting with the yin ghosts for so long, she couldn't hold on anymore. She staggered a little and fell toward Yunjioge. However, Yunjioge dodged Lu Tian'er, then grabbed her right hand and raised it high. Lu Tian'er's right hand was holding a red paper doll. On it, there was a human figure drawn with ink, which was very similar to Yunjioge. Seeing that her sister's curse failed, Lu Mei immediately drove the two white-boned spears to stab Yunjioge's chest. Lu Tian'er was also a ruthless person. She took out the red paper doll that she had prepared and patted it on her body. Immediately, she activated the 9 Yudao body with red eyes and black hair. It was obvious that she was going to fight with Yunjioge today. Chapter 293. Zay, I miscalculated. Yunjioge secretly sighed at his bad luck. He had revealed the white bone monkey to let them see his aura, but he never thought that it would cause them to covet him. It really was not good to show off one's wealth. Yunjioge cursed in his heart, but his hands moved very quickly. Ringing the corpse control bell, the white bone spike flew out to block Lu Meier's attack. Then he sent the white bone monkey to deal with Lu Tian'er. The white bone monkey shook its big head, making kacha-kacha sounds as it walked towards Lu Tian'er. After taking 2 steps, it was sent flying by Lu Tian'er's kick. The little skeleton fell to the ground and the big head rolled into the sand, burying itself in the ground. Little monkey. Yunjioge's heart tightened, wanting to call it back. At this time, 2 yin ghosts floated by. The little monkey immediately raised its head, its soul flame happily swam, opening its big mouth to eat the yin ghosts. Not to mention helping Yunjioge, it didn't even care about its broken little skeleton, burying its big head in the sand as it began to eat. Yunjioge finally saw it clearly, this white bone monkey was a glutton, wanting to rely on it to fight was too hard. If you want this senior's help, then ask me. Zishang stood behind Yunjioge, his gray eyes filled with ridicule. Yunjioge wanted to refuse, but seeing Lu Tian'er's long black nails in front of her, she could only helplessly give in. Great King, I beg you. Only then did Zishang reveal himself. He lazily raised his hand and shot out a gray yin qi that sent Lu Tian'er flying. Lu Tian'er's body flew back, slamming into Lu Meier, the 2 sisters rolling into a ball. Who are you? Lu Mei'er looked at the beautiful gray-eyed man next to Yunjioge in shock. She felt like she was dreaming. Otherwise how could there be such a perfect man, appearing in such a strange way? Lu Tian shivered as she shrank beside Lu Mei'er. She was now in a half-ghost body, her intuition was very sharp, she felt from the bottom of her heart that this beautiful man in front of her was very dangerous, she couldn't provoke him. This is my Yin corpse with a blood contract. Yunjioge introduced without any expression. Yin corpse? Lu Tian's eyes opened wide in disbelief. She found that this gray-haired beautiful man did not have a single trace of life on him. His pair of cold gray eyes made her feel like she was falling into an ice cave. That's right, he is a 1,000-year-old corpse, so I have no interest in you. Yunjioge waved his hand and the red paper person flew into his hand. This red paper person was filled with a thick smell of blood, the red paint was all made from blood. Was the person drawn by the brush exuded a gloomy and evil aura, making her dizzy just by looking at it. No wonder Shorty Chiu and the others fell for it. The Lu sisters were indeed skilled. Senior brother Yunjio, I have absolutely no intention of harming you. We made this red paper man for fun, Lu Mei'er lied through her teeth. Do you think I'm an idiot? Yunjioge's eyes were unkind. These two sisters really needed a lesson. Brother Yunjioge, if you want to blame someone then blame me. I thought you had bad intentions towards my little sister, so I encouraged her to help me deal with you. Lu Mei'er immediately kneeled down and begged for mercy. Brother Yunjioge, it's all my fault, I forced my big sister to help me deal with you. Lu Tian took off the red paper and returned to her original appearance, kneeling on the ground and crying. Shut up, I'll let you go this time, but if there's a next time, don't blame me for selling you to the Yin Corp sex elders. I believe they will be very interested in you. Yunjioge burned the red paper person on the spot. Thank you brother. The Lu sisters said with gratitude. Get up, do a good job in the future and I won't mistreat you. Yunjioge gave them a big stick and began to give out dates. Thank you brother, us two sisters will be loyal to you in the future. The Lu sisters said as they helped each other up from the ground. Then they obediently walked to Yunjioge's side. Let's stop here for today. Yunjioge saw that most of the Yin Qi had been collected and the Lu sisters had been subdued, so he planned to return home. Yes. The Lu sisters nodded obediently and then secretly glanced at Zishang. They were wondering why they didn't have the luck to meet such a 1,000-year-old corpse. Zishang didn't respond to their gazes. Let's go. Yunjioge turned around and called out to Zishang, but a strange light flashed in Zishang's eyes. Then, he carried Yunjioge horizontally and quickly disappeared in front of the Lu sisters. The Lu sisters looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. However, they didn't dare to leave on their own. They surrounded the white skeleton monkey and killed the Yin ghosts while waiting for Yunjioge to return. What are you doing? Yunjioge was shocked. Why didn't Zishang follow the script? Why did he suddenly go crazy? I suddenly realized that the effects of dual cultivation in this Yin energy graveyard are much better. Zishang quickly brought Yunjioge to a withered tree that was so wide that 5 people could wrap their arms around it. There was a big hole in the withered tree, and it was quite spacious inside. The two of them could stand and turn around without being affected. This place is not bad, right? Zishang found this tree hole last time. At that time, he felt that dual cultivation with Yunjioge would be very enjoyable. No matter how good it is, it can't be so sudden. Yunjioge finally understood how the words, lust clouded the heart, were written. Dual cultivation is a big deal. Of course, we should take advantage of the right time and place. Zishang said seriously. Bullsh*T, this place is so dirty, and there are insects everywhere. I don't want to dual cultivate here. Yunjioge felt itchy just looking at the tree hole. Itchy, is it? I'll help you scratch it. Zishang smiled and reached out to pull Yunjioge's belt. Damn you! Yunjioge was no match for Zishang, and was quickly raped. The two of them started dual cultivating in the tree hole more smoothly than in the bungalow. Their spiritual power grew quickly, and their dantian's meridians became stronger. It was clear that Zishang's words were not entirely teasing. However, Yunjioge was still angry in his heart, so he purposely let out moans and groans as his palms caressed Zishang's muscular body. Do you have to do this? Zishang was very uncomfortable. Not bad. Use more strength. Yunjioge was not afraid of him, and instead moaned even more. Do you believe that I won't do you? Zishang threatened fiercely. He couldn't vent his anger while dual cultivating with Yunjioge. He had been holding it in for a long time. Yunjioge was doing this to him, and he was in great pain. If you have something to do, do it to me. Yunjioge wrapped her legs around Zishang's thin waist, looking fearless. Zishang said before that her dantian was too weak, and could not withstand his essence energy. So, before the poison was cured, he could only be an old ox that worked hard to plow the fields. Stupid girl, I'll kill you sooner or later. Yunjioge moaned even louder. She had been teased too much before, and now she could finally get her revenge. If you asked her how she felt, there was only one word to describe it: pleasure. Chapter 294. Because Zishang was too depressed, the dual cultivation ended very quickly. After Yunjioge finished his cultivation, he put on his clothes and returned to his original place with Zishang. The Lu sisters had already killed quite a few Yin ghosts. Seeing Yunjioge come back with messy clothes and a few strange red marks on his neck, their expressions became strange. The Lu sisters grew up in this area, so they were very familiar with Yin corpses and demonic sects. Naturally they knew when Yin corpses would take the initiative to form a blood contract with a living person. There were some that had deep feelings when they were alive and could not forget their family and friends after death. There were some that felt that a living person was especially delicious, becoming addicted to eating and not willing to let go. This kind of eating, other than sucking blood, there was another method, which was to have sex. To put it nicely, it was like water and milk, but to put it bluntly, it was being fucked. Very clearly, Yunjioge in front of them was in this kind of situation. No wonder his expression was so strange. It was estimated that he had been fucked by that 1,000-year-old corpse for a long time, causing the corpse poison in his body to manifest. The Lu sisters thought that this corpse love was just a legend. They never thought that there would be a living example in front of them. Moreover, it was a man with a cut sleeve. The two of them couldn't help looking at Yunjioge a few more times. Yunjioge had an expressionless face, letting the Lu sisters look at him, but his heart was very sullen. It was all because of Zishang's broken idea. Now he must be very abnormal in the eyes of the Lu sisters. Senior brother, it's getting late, let's hurry up and leave. Lu Mei'er took the initiative to say with a very kind attitude. The two sisters had a rough life, suffering under the hands of that evil old monster. What they needed the most was not sympathy from others, but sympathy from fellow sufferers. Yunjioge, this pitiful man being pressed down by that 1,000-year-old corpse, met this condition without a doubt. Let's go. Yunjioge brought the Lu sisters out of the Yin Chi cemetery. Returning to the small house, Yunjioge gave them 2 bottles of Yin energy pills. Cultivate well. Saying this, he returned to the house. Good night, senior brother. The Lu sisters waited for Yunjioge to enter before returning to their own house. Elder sister, do you really think Yunjioge won't refine me into a Yin corpse? Lu Mei'er asked in a worried voice. I don't think so. It's rumored that corpses that have a blood contract with a living person are very possessive. There are even precedents of them killing the contractor's entire family. It definitely won't allow the contractor to refine another corpse. Lu Mei cautiously said. But he can sell me to someone else. After Lu Tian'er was betrayed by her uncle, she didn't trust anyone except her sister. He has that 1,000-year-old corpse by his side. He can get whatever he wants. There's no need for him to sell it to us. As Lu Mei said this, she laughed. Besides, he's worth more than us now. If anyone wants to sell him, it should be us. Although his younger sister's nether ghost body was rare, her vital had already been taken away by that damned old monster, so its effectiveness was greatly reduced. It was not even as valuable as the mysterious white bone monkey. Although the 1,000-year-old corpse had formed a blood contract with Yunjiu, the corpse sect must have a way to remove it, so the one who should be worried should be Yunjiu. Big sister's words make sense. Lu Tian'er realized that her net worth had plummeted and felt inexplicably relieved. I think that Yunjiu is a person with good fortune. If we follow him, we might be able to get some good luck. Lu Mei originally thought that this Yunjiu was just a demonic-looking youth. She didn't think that he not only had a treasure like the mysterious white bone monkey, but also a 1,000-year-old corpse as a corpse. This kind of great fortune was simply something that only the favored of the heavens could have. If they could get some good luck by following him, the two sisters would be able to avoid a lot of detours in the future. Big sister is right. The two sisters had a hard life, that's why they ended up in this situation. Let's follow him first and work hard to raise our cultivation. Lu Mei finally came to a conclusion. Lu Tian'er nodded her head in agreement. She then took out the Qi pill that Yunjiu gave her and ate it. Her eyes immediately widened. What's wrong? Is there a problem with this Qi pill? Lu Mei asked. Heavens, I've never eaten such a pure Qi pill before. Lu Tian'er said as she sat down cross-legged to cultivate. Lu Mei stood guard at the side. After she finished cultivating, she also couldn't wait to eat one. She immediately understood her little sister's meaning. Big sister, let's follow him for now. We'll see what happens in the future. Lu Tian'er felt that this Qi pill was too good. Right. Lu Mei nodded her head. The Lu sisters had real benefits in front of them. Even if they were to fall out in the future, they would have to take this opportunity to increase their strength first. The two sisters used the Qi gathering pill and it was much better than the one given by the sect. Their cultivation increased very quickly as well. Yunjiu didn't know that her Qi pill had successfully bribed the Lu sisters. After she entered the room, she immediately refined a large bucket of Qi water and threw the little white bone monkey inside. The little white bone monkey happily soaked in the water. Its soul flame was squinting as if it could ascend to the heavens at any time. Good child, work hard in the future. You won't be lacking in benefits. Yunjiu rubbed its big head and then went to the side to cultivate. She had touched the threshold of the third Qi disciple stage, but she was unable to advance. The cultivation of the myriad beast spell had also reached a bottleneck. No matter how she cultivated, she couldn't condense the feathers on her back. Instead, she felt sore all over. In your current situation, you need to start tempering your bones. Zishan could see Yunjiu's problem at a glance. After Yunjiu cultivated the Qi technique, although the 9-stage bone-shattering poison in her dantian had been alleviated, the poison that seeped into her bones still needed to be boiled out. I'm going to boil the bones so soon. Do I have enough medicinal ingredients? Although Yunjiu had asked the Gong family to help her collect a lot of bone-tempering medicinal ingredients, she was afraid that it wouldn't be enough for her to reach the peak of Qi disciple. We'll talk about it if it's not enough. Pick up the medicinal ingredients first. I'll help you get a wooden bucket. Zishang left the room after he finished speaking. After Yunjiu had picked up the bone-tempering medicinal ingredients, Zishang returned and carried out a thick, long, and round piece of black wood from his storage bag. The glossy black wood was covered with golden round spots. It was as gorgeous as a leopard's pattern. Damn, why did you bring the treasure of the Ink Flower Mountain here? Yunjiu immediately recognized that it was Elder Mo Hua's treasure, the black bone leopard pattern wood. It was said that she had planted 38 trees behind her cave abode and planned to use them to refine a treasure in the future. Therefore, she usually kept a close eye on it. This kind of wood is the best to make a wooden bucket. Zishang had high standards. He didn't even look at normal wood. You keep saying that you want to keep a low profile. Is this how you keep a low profile? If this Elder Mo Hua found out that her precious wood was stolen, she would turn the Yin corpse sect upside down. Even if she was only an outer sect disciple, her life wouldn't be easy. Chapter 295. Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Zishang dared to steal the wood, so he was naturally prepared. He found a normal black bone wood, painted it with leopard spots, and planted it back in its original spot. There were more than 30 black bone leopard wood in the forest. As long as Elder Mo Hua didn't dig it out, he definitely wouldn't find it. You can do that? Yunjiu was impressed by Zishang. But no matter what, she was the one who brought the black bone leopard wood back to enjoy. She was still very happy. You boil the herbs first. I'll make the wooden barrel later and we can use it. Zishang's fingernails grew, and he cut the black bone leopard wood into neat wooden pieces. Then, he carved fire runes along the leopard markings on the wooden pieces, and started piecing them together. Apart from its spiritual solidification properties, the black bone leopard wood also had great growth properties. The wooden pieces fit together perfectly, without a single gap. It was as if it was naturally a wooden barrel. After Yunjiu finished boiling the herbs, she poured them into the black bone leopard wood barrel. She didn't need to inject spiritual energy. The golden spots and fire runes lit up automatically, and small bubbles appeared in the pitch-black potion. I won't be cooked, right? Yunjiu swallowed her saliva. She was really worried that a layer of her skin would be scalded off. It just looks hot. Zishang put his hand into the water easily. When he picked it up, it was still as white as jade. Yunjiu walked into the wooden barrel without worry. The moment she squatted down, her face flushed red. She screamed and wanted to jump out of the barrel. Bear with it even if it hurts. Zishang pressed Yunjiu down mercilessly. You lied to me. Yunjiu's face was so hot that her face was crooked. The water was even hotter than it looked. That's how it is. Zishang placed his hand on Yunjiu's shoulder to prevent her from escaping. The golden spots and fire runes on the black bone wooden barrel grew brighter. More and more bubbles appeared in the potion. The rising mist enveloped the entire bungalow. It was as if she was about to ascend to immortality. Yunjiu soaked in the water. She felt that the cold air in her bones was about to evaporate. Layers of black filth emerged from her pores, wrapping around her body like sludge. When the medicinal effect completely disappeared, the filth on her body was as thick as armor. Piece by piece, it peeled off her skin. However, the effect was very obvious. Her cultivation advanced by another level, and she successfully entered the third level of Qi Disciple. In addition, her 10,000 Beast spell had finally broken through the first layer. Not only did the phoenix feather flower on his forehead become clearer, but his skin also became smooth and tough, making it difficult for ordinary swords to injure him. However, the most obvious change was that the red light on her shoulder blades had finally turned into a thin layer of red fur. When will I be able to grow wings? Yunjioge asked Zishang as he stroked the layer of fluff. How long have you been cultivating and you want to become a demon? Zishang chuckled. This girl was looking down on the demon clan too much. If a talented wild beast wanted to evolve into a spirit beast, it would take at least 50 to 100 years. She had cultivated for a few months to have such an effect, and it was all thanks to him using his Niden to dual cultivate with her. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be able to cultivate the red light. Forget it, forget it. It's just training anyway. Yunjioge was quite open-minded. She only cultivated the 10,000 beast spell to stabilize her dantian. She did not really expect to become a spirit and become a bird. Yunjioge used her chi to retract the fluff on her shoulder blades, then took out the Yin energy pill and prepared to cultivate. This Yin energy pill doesn't taste as good as before. After Yunjioge took the Yin energy pill and circulated it through her body, she realized that the effect of the pill was not very good. Logically speaking, this Yin energy pill should be able to last until the 5th layer of Qi disciple. Why did it lose effectiveness so early? After the 3rd layer of Qi disciple, the amount of Yin energy you need starts to increase. In addition, your 10,000 beast spell also needs double the spiritual power. This Yin energy pill is naturally not suitable for you. Zishang had been by Yunjioge's side all this time, so he knew her body like the back of his hand. He even knew how many feathers grew on her shoulder blades. If that's the case, I need to start refining the Yin energy pill now. Yunjioge sighed. The materials needed to refine the Yin energy pill were much more complicated than the Yin energy pill. The 3 nether flowers were easier to pick, but the Yin moths were not. The Yin moths only existed in the Moth Valley of the Yin Energy Cemetery, and they would only appear after midnight. The Yin Energy Cemetery was very dangerous at night. Even if she went in with the skeleton monkey, she might not be able to protect them. The worst thing was that the Yin moths were extremely fast. Killing them one by one was really tiring. She had to think of a way. Why don't you ask the Lu sisters? They were born and raised in this area. Maybe they have a way to deal with those Yin moths. Zishang felt that it would be good for her to cooperate with Yunjioge and the Lu sisters in the future. Okay. The next morning, Yunjioge went to the Lu sisters to ask about the Yin moths. These Yin moths are not easy to catch. If you don't need a lot, you can use contribution points to exchange. 10 contribution points for 1. Lu Tian'er suggested. The Yin energy pill is not effective for those above the 5th layer of weapon refining. You have to refine the Yin energy pill. Yunjioge said that a furnace of 10 Yin energy pills would require at least 200 Yin moths. She could afford it herself, but it depended on whether the Lu sisters could afford the price. So expensive? Lu Mei-er calculated the cost. If they followed Yunjioge to the Yin Energy Cemetery for a day, they could at most kill 100 Yin ghosts. That was 100 contribution points. After deducting the daily needs, there were 80 points left. Normally, 80 contribution points could be exchanged with Yunjioge for 8 Yin energy pills. Working for 1 day would allow them to go into seclusion for 8 days. They had plenty of time to cultivate. Now that they exchanged it for the Yin energy pill, 10 contribution points for 1 Yin moth. 200 Yin moths would be 2,000 contribution points. They would have to work for 25 days to exchange for 10 Yin energy pills. Where would they have time to cultivate? After calculating the cost, Lu Mei-er said decisively, then let's go catch them ourselves. Yin moths are very sensitive to yang energy. We can set a trap to lure them over and then kill them. I heard that they used living people as bait. Lu Tian'er said. There are disciples of the Yin Corpse sect in a 10-mile radius. It would be difficult to catch them as bait. Yunjioge expressed his disagreement with this method. It is indeed difficult. If we are discovered, we will be heavily punished. Lu Mei's tone was a little regretful. Although using living people as bait was the simplest and most convenient method, the Yin Corpse sect forbade killing each other. I see that the yang energy gathered by your red paper man is not bad. Why don't we try it? Yun Jioge had studied the Lu sisters' red paper man before. The yang energy gathered by their blood essence was not bad. The yang energy gathered by our red paper man is not enough to lure 2 Yin moths. How can it be used as a bait? Lu Mei quickly shook her head. What a joke. Those red paper men were all refined from her blood essence. Every one of them was very precious. It would be a waste to use them to lure Yin moths. Chapter 296. I'm just saying. I don't have to use your red paper dolls. I just need something with enough yang qi. Yun Jioge was just asking casually. Lu Tian'er's eyes suddenly lit up and she said, I know something with enough yang qi. You mean yang essence? As expected of twins, Lu Mei and Lu Tian'er immediately guessed what their sister was thinking. That's right. Lu Tian'er nodded and laughed. As long as we can collect enough yang essence and store it in a yang locator, we can definitely attract Yin moths and other fairies. Wait. Yun Jioge raised his hand and asked hesitantly, the yang essence you're talking about, is it the one you're thinking of? Io, it's the one you're thinking of. Lu Tian'er laughed and said, how about brother Yunjio contribute the first shot? I don't have that thing. Ahem, senior apprentice brother, don't mind me. My sister is just joking with you. Lu Mei coughed and gestured for her sister to look at the 1,000-year-old corpse behind Yun Jioge. Zishang actually found it quite interesting, but his identity as an old corpse made him unable to show his emotions on his face. In the eyes of the 2 sisters, he looked like he was angry. That's right, senior apprentice brother, I'm just joking. Lu Tian'er immediately became serious. The man of a 1,000-year-old corpse must not be casually flirted with. You guys find a way to get this yang essence. Inform me when you're done. Yun Jioge waved his hand dispiritedly. He no longer wanted to discuss this unrestrained topic with the 2 sisters. Senior apprentice brother, don't worry. Leave this task to us. The Lu sisters vowed. Oh right, go buy 2 more second-rank Yin Qi bottles. Yun Jioge planned to go all out. Yes. The Lu sisters accepted the task and went to work. Just as Yun Jioge was about to cultivate, Zishang suddenly pulled her into his arms and blinked his peach blossom eyes. He smiled and said, do you want me to give you some yang essence? I've been saving it for a long time. Hee, you should keep such a precious thing. Yun Jioge pushed Zishang away and went to cultivate seriously. While the Lu sisters were busy collecting yang essence, Yun Jioge was not idle either. She sneaked into the Yin Qi cemetery with the white bone monkey and picked many 3 nether flowers. 2 days later, the Lu sisters came to find her with a large milky white cup. The cup was in the shape of a cylinder, and the lid on it was very intricately made. It only allowed the liquid to enter but not exit, giving off a strange feeling. Senior brother, do you want to check it? Lu Tian'er pretended to open the cup. No need. It's fine as long as you think it's fine. Yun Jioge rejected the cup of little tadpoles. Then when should we go? This cup of yang essence won't be fresh if we keep it for too long. The Lu sisters had spent a lot of effort to make this thing. Let's go now, Yun Jioge said decisively. He would first go in and kill some Yin ghosts. After midnight, he would catch the Yin moths. At midnight, the Yin Qi cemetery was shrouded in ghost qi, gloomy and gloomy. Yun Jioge was standing next to the big pagoda tree where he and Zishang had previously dual cultivated. Beneath him was a depression, and in the middle of it was a bottle. Around it were 6 white bone spikes. Once we have gathered enough Yin moths, will attack at the same time. Can you do that? Yunjioga looked at the two sisters. Her plan was simple. She would wait for the moths to gather and then use the white bone spikes to kill them. At this time, cooperation was important. If the white bone spikes could not attack at the same time, the lethality would be greatly reduced, and the moths would take the opportunity to escape. Senior brother, don't worry. I guarantee that none of them will escape. The Lu sisters were twins, so cooperation was an instinct for them. It was not difficult at all. Then let's begin. Yunjioga nodded at Lu Mei-er. Lu Mei-er threw a red paper doll into the yang essence cup, and the doll quickly opened the lid. A faint stench floated out. The qi in the distance rolled, and a large group of ghosts pounced over. However, they were lured away by the white bone monkey. Following that, a large group of gray moths surged over. They were terrifyingly fast, and instantly drowned the yang essence cup. Lu Tian'er looked at the moths as if she was looking at countless contribution points. She was extremely excited. Lu Mei-er could not help but look at Yunjioga with a questioning gaze. Yunjioga shook his head. This was not enough. He had to accumulate more. Seeing that the number of moths was increasing, and those that could not smell the yang qi were about to leave, Yunjioga finally nodded. The Lu sisters simultaneously made a hand seal, and 6 white bone spikes burst out with a blood-red light, and with a loud bang, they pierced into the moths. The moths shrieked. In an instant, more than half of them were killed, and the rest scattered in all directions, trying to escape. Yunjioga quickly commanded the white bone spikes to kill those that escaped. This attack killed a total of more than 400 moths, just enough to make a cauldron of gathering pills. There was still a lot of yang essence left in the cup, and it could continue to attract the moths. Just like that, Yunjioga and the Lu sisters killed for the entire night. The bottle of yang essence attracted more than 2,000 moths. Although the results were gratifying, it was extremely tiring. Well done. Yunjioga held the 5 heavy qi bottles in his hands and praised the Lu sisters. Senior brother, you flatter us. Although the Lu sisters were happy, they knew that if it was not for the white bone monkey and the 1,000-year-old corpse protecting them, they would not have achieved such a result. Alright, let's go back. The yang essence had been used up, and the sun was about to rise. There was no point in staying any longer. The Lu sisters and Yunjioga returned to the bungalow together, and after saying good morning to each other, they parted ways. Yunjioga carried the heavy qi bottles back to the house, and was so tired that she could not lift her arms. However, these moths would be wasted if she did not immediately refine them. She could only raise her spirits, and prepare to refine the pills. The qi that the moths produced was a little grayish-black, and the refined qi was also black and very thin. However, as long as the 3 nether flour was put in, it would become very sticky. The 3 nether flour looked like a mushroom, and the grayish-white mushroom had 3 thick black rhombus-shaped lines on it. These 3 rhombus-shaped lines were the materials needed to refine the gathering pill. Yunjioga removed the 3 rhombus-shaped lines from the mushroom, and threw them into the moth's water. The thin qi water instantly became sticky. After all the materials were prepared, Yunjioga poured the sticky medicinal liquid into the small bronze cauldron, and began to refine the pill. The fire required to refine the gathering pill was very short, and inexperienced people would easily spoil it. However, this was not a problem for Yunjioga. She only spent 2 hours to successfully refine the medicinal liquid into the gathering pill. 10 cauldrons made a total of 300 gathering pills, and the color looked grayish. Although it did not look good, the qi it contained was definitely very thick. When I think about how these moths were attracted by yang essence, I feel a little nauseous. Yunjioga looked at the furnace of gathering pills, and could not help but sigh. However, for the sake of cultivation, she could only endure it no matter how disgusting it was. Chapter 297. This furnace is for the Lu sisters, you use these to refine. Unexpectedly, Zishang flipped his palm and took out a yin qi bottle. Yunjioge took a look and saw that it was an incomparably pure black yin qi water. When did you make this? Yunjioge looked at Zishang in surprise. The purity of this yin qi water was so high, it meant that the yin moths caught by Zishang were of a very high level. This guy used the excuse of training her and rarely helped her with these things. She didn't expect him to be so kind today. When you were refining the pills, I went out for a walk. How could Zishang tolerate his woman eating those disgusting things? I knew you treat me the best. Yunjioge generously kissed Zishang and excitedly went to refine the yin gathering pill. The pills refined by this high-level yin qi water were indeed different. Each pill was pure black and the effect was needless to say. One pill was comparable to the 2 pills from the furnace just now. It could be said to be of high quality. Yunjioge kept these high-quality yin qi pills well. The next morning, he sent the yang essence yin gathering pill to the Lu sisters. Each bottle has 15 pills. Together with the yin qi pills, it will be enough for you to cultivate for a month. Yunjioge planned to give the 2 sisters 30 pills every month and keep 100 for himself. Although the yin moths were killed by everyone, she was the one who picked the 3 nether flowers and the pills were refined by her. She definitely wanted to be rewarded. Thank you, senior brother. The Lu sisters would not mind that it was taken out by the yang essence. 1 month later, go to the Moth Valley again. As for the yang essence, do as you see fit. But be careful of the impact. Yunjioge told the Lu sisters in advance to remind them not to only pluck the feathers from one sheep. It was safer to take turns. There were still 4 outer sect disciple peaks. Senior brother, don't worry. We know what to do. Lu Tian'er said with a smile. There were more men than women in the Yin Corpse sect. With just a small illusion technique, they could easily obtain the yang essence of those perverts. Alright, do as you see fit. Yunjioge was still very confident in the Lu sisters. When the Lu sisters took the yin gathering pill back and ate it, they almost flew into the sky. They were even more determined to follow Yunjioge. Other than cultivating every day, the 2 sisters would wander around looking for candidates to collect the yang essence next time. Yunjioge, on the other hand, continued to train hard. From time to time, he would temper his bones. His progress was also very smooth. It seemed like he was about to break through to the 4th level of qi refinement. On this day, she had just finished cultivating when little Fatty suddenly came over. Senior brother, I have news regarding Su Junqing. 50 contribution points. Do you want to buy it? Yes. Yunjioge transferred 50 contribution points to little Fatty without hesitation. Su Junqing has been pestering Elder Ink Flower recently. He has accepted another mission, little Fatty said mysteriously. What mission? Yunjioge asked. I heard that he is going to bring a group of outer disciples out to work. However, I have yet to figure out the specifics of the task. Little Fatty felt it was a pity. If he could figure it out, he could sell it for more money. This Yunjio was very generous. Tell me immediately after you figure it out. Yunjioge had a premonition that this might be a good opportunity to deal with Su Junqing. Alright. Oh right. I have another piece of news for you for free. Elder Cho Sun is about to return. Back then, Su Junqing came in with Si Yuyue. Now that Si Yuyue is seriously injured and unconscious, he has not gone to see her even once. He is probably afraid that Elder Cho Sun will find him, so he took the mission and hid away. Little Fatty was very good at doing business. He would often buy one get one free or give away gifts. Therefore, he had a good relationship with his customers. Got it. Yunjioga had been in Corp's sect for a long time. She already knew that Si Yuiwe was a disciple of Cho Shan. Although she was not Elder Cho Sen's direct disciple, it was said that her relationship with Elder Cho Sen was a bit ambiguous. No wonder Su Junqing ran away. However, this had nothing to do with her. She only cared about Su Junqing. That's right, haven't you been close to those two sisters recently? Why don't you ask them to help you gather some information? Su Junqing can't forget about them. Little Fatty was all smiles, but his tone was probing. He was quite impressed with Yunjioga. He really took care of those two sisters. Although the information he sold to him was a great help, those two sisters were not easy to deal with. Many people who wanted to threaten them had already disappeared in the mass grave. I know what to do. You don't need to worry. Yunjioga looked at Little Fatty coldly. She never explained her relationship with the Lu sisters. She wanted Little Fatty and the people outside to guess. The more ridiculous the better. Ahem. If there is nothing else, I will go. Little Fatty touched his nose and left. Yunjioga sent Little Fatty away. Just as she was about to find the Lu sisters to ask about Su Junqing, Lu Mei came looking for her. What is it? Yunjioga asked. Yes. Lu Mei nodded. Let's talk inside. Yunjioga opened the door and let Lu Mei in. She was too lazy to let Lu Mei drink water. She directly asked, what is it? Last night, senior brother Su came looking for us. He wants us to be his lovers. He will be our support in the future. Lu Mei said. If it was before they met Yunjioga, they would be more than happy to have such a strong, powerful, and gentle senior brother like Su Junqing to protect them. But now that they were following Yunjioga and improving with their strength, the two sisters no longer wanted to live the life of selling their bodies for resources. You can deal with him and see what benefits he can give you. Yunjioga tried to rope in the Lu sisters because she wanted to use them to get close to Su Junqing. Senior brother Su said that in 3 months, the sect's small mystic realm will open. All outer sect disciples who have cultivated to stage 4 can enter the mystic realm to train. All outer sect disciples will participate. When the time comes, he will be the leader of our second peak. Lu Mei had already asked around. Although she did not want to be Su Junqing's lover, it would be a waste not to use the information that came to her. Yunjioga's heart could not help but pound when she heard the news. This was definitely a good opportunity to kill Su Junqing. She suppressed her excitement and asked the Lu sisters, what did he tell you about the mystic realm? He only said that there is a type of human-faced peach growing in that little secret dungeon. Eating it is extremely beneficial for raising one's cultivation. The most important mission for us outer sect disciples is to pluck this human-faced peach. However, the process of plucking the human-faced peach is very dangerous, and many people might die. Lu Mei could not help but furrow her brows as she spoke up to this point. Every year, the Corp sect would recruit a large number of disciples. There were tens of thousands of outer sect disciples, but less than 1,000 of them could successfully enter the inner sect. Most of them went into the mystic realms to train. Chapter 298. It seems there is something strange about this pocket dimension. You guys should hurry up and cultivate yourselves. If you have the chance, buy some good spiritual bones and prepare yourselves. I will go ask Little Fatty about this pocket dimension. Hearing Lu Mei's words, Yunjioga also began to view this pocket dimension with importance. Okay. Lu Mei nodded worriedly. Yunjio had a 1,000-year-old corpse with him, so his life wouldn't be in any danger. However, the old corpse only cared about its contractor and turned a blind eye to them. It was too difficult to rely on it. It seemed like there was still a need to win over senior brother Su and ask him for help when necessary. Seeing through Lu Mei's thoughts, Yun Jioge reminded, Su Junqing isn't a simple person. It's fine to maintain a relationship, but be careful of falling into a pit of fire if you become his backer. I know. Lu Mei nodded. Ever since Su Junqing expressed his intention to rope them in, the two sisters had also inquired about him a lot. They knew that he relied on women to get to his position, so he probably didn't approach them with good intentions. It's good that you know. Go back and cultivate well. After Yun Jioge sent Lu Mei off, he wanted to find little Fatty to ask about this mystic realm, but he was stopped by Zishang. There are still 3 months before the minor mystery dungeon. By then, even if you don't ask, little Fatty will come to you and sell you the information. There is no need for this. Right now, the most important thing is to find a way to improve my strength. For Zishang, a minor mystery dungeon like this was nothing. You're right. Yun Jioge also realized that he was a little impatient. Every time she encountered Su Junqing, she would easily lose control. This was not good. However, this was indeed a good opportunity, and he definitely couldn't miss it. Yun Jioge began to assess his combat power. Currently, his outer sex Yin art was at the 3rd stage of Qi refinement, and he could control 4 white bone spurs. Although the first stage of the 10,000 beasts art could harden one's skin, it could only block normal swords and sabers. It was not very useful in actual combat. In terms of Dharma artifacts, there were the bone spikes and the corpse-controlling bell given by the Yin corpse sect. There was also the evil saber he had gotten from forefather Bloodthirsty. The lightning snake illusionary whip was currently sealed and could not be used until the very last moment. As for the other things, the white bone flame could only be used to refine pills, and the white bone monkey could only eat Yin Qi. The treasure-seeking scorpion could only search for treasures, the skinny squirrel was sleeping, and the pink mother goo had not hatched yet. No matter how Yun Jioge thought about it, he realized that he did not have a single powerful Dharma artifact. What do you think if I forge my own set of bone spikes? Yun Jioge asked Zishang. Before the Yin corpse sect outer sect disciples had their own Yin corpses, they all used bone spurs as magic weapons. If he could find a superior grade spirit bone to forge a bone spur, its attack power would also be very powerful. It was said that Elder Cho Sen's Dharma treasures were made from the bones of bloodthirsty bats. There were 27 of them in total, and they were very powerful. Find me the spirit bone, I'll help you refine it. Yun Jioge was good at alchemy, but he wasn't good at blacksmithing. He didn't even have the slightest bit of talent when it came to runes. All right. Yun Jioge had been waiting for Zishang to say this. She patted her pouch and solemnly called out, "Come out, treasure-seeking scorpion." The treasure-seeking scorpion immediately crawled out and waved its pincers. It raised its head and puffed out its chest as it shouted in a loud voice, "Master, what are your orders? Go outside and help me. Are there any white bones with abundant spiritual energy?" Yun Jioge was very confident in the treasure-seeking scorpion. If it could find something similar to the mystic Yin white skeleton monkey, that would be the best. I'll go right now. The treasure-seeking scorpion's fat body landed on the ground with a bang, creating a small pit. This fellow ate and slept well, and was in a good mood. Its weight was increasing. It was originally only the size of a palm, but now it had gone through secondary puberty and was as thick as a child's arm. Its digging speed was also increasing. Not good. Be careful. Yun Jioge ordered. This was Yin Corp sect's territory after all. If something happened to the treasure-seeking scorpion, it would be very hard for her to solve it. Don't worry, I know. The treasure-seeking scorpion was very satisfied with its current life. It didn't want to change its master at all. It usually guarded its wife, and without Yun Jioge's orders, it would never act on its own. The treasure-seeking scorpion looked left and right. After confirming its direction, it turned into a yellow light and entered the ground. "Great King Zishang, you're here. I'll make you a pot of tea." Yunjioge called out to Zishang in a flattering manner. If he wanted to deal with Su Junqing, this was the real Dharma treasure. He had to serve him well. Zishang's attitude towards Yunjioge was very useful. He lazily sat on the chair, twisted his neck, and muttered to himself, "Your shoulder seems a bit hard." "Is it hard? I'll help you rub it." Yunjioge immediately stood beside Zishang and pressed his shoulder. He even asked very gently, "Great King, is this strength suitable?" "It's all right." Zishang was drowsy, but the corners of his red lips curled up slightly. Yunjioge wanted to continue. At this moment, a yellow light appeared on the ground. The treasure-seeking scorpion had returned. So fast? Yunjioge thought that the treasure-seeking scorpion would take at least half a day. After all, this area was Een Corp sect's territory. He didn't expect it to return in just 10 sentences. "I've already found the spirit bone. It's not far from here." The treasure-seeking scorpion said naively. "Not far?" Yunjioge was slightly surprised. If it wasn't far, then it was still in the territory of the second peak. There could be a good spirit bone here. "Let's go take a look." Zishang stood up and said. "Let's go." Yunjioge was also slightly curious about how close the spirit bone was. In the end, under the guidance of the treasure-seeking scorpion, they made a few turns and arrived at a workshop where the disciples of the second peak traded privately. Yunjioge had heard of this workshop before. Many outer sect disciples would set up stalls here to privately trade after obtaining some gains. The Een Corp sect would also turn a blind eye to it when it was too low to exchange it for contribution points. Yunjioge sent the treasure-seeking scorpion to pick up the spirit bones for free. Making her spend money was like cutting off her own flesh. "Let's look around. If there's anything good, we'll buy it." Zishang was rather interested in this workshop. "Alright, let's look around." Yunjioge felt a little heartache for her purse. The scale of this workshop was quite large. The small stalls were all trading within a planned area. Most of them were things that outer sect disciples could use. There were second-hand Een Chi bottles, various spirit bones, various low-grade Een materials. Yunjioge walked around but didn't find anything good. A slightly better spirit bone was sold for 100 contribution points. It was better for her to go to the mass grave to find it herself. As Yunjioge was walking around, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Senior brother Yunjio, why are you here?" She turned around and saw that it was little fatty Jean Lin. "Why do you have a share in everything?" Yunjioge was impressed with little fatty. He curried favor every day, yet he still had the cultivation of the second layer of the Qi refinement realm. He was quite a capable person. Keeping track of the workshop's movements is also one of my jobs. If senior brother Yunjio wants to buy anything, just ask me directly. I don't charge for this information, little fatty said with a smile. Chapter 299. I want to buy a good spirit bone, but the price has to be reasonable. Yunjioge still trusted little fatty. You can't buy good spirit bones here, you have to go to the night market to get good stuff. Little fatty whispered. Ghost market? Yunjioge raised her eyebrows, it didn't sound like a good place. That's right, after midnight, there is a ghost market in the locust tree forest. There will be a lot of good stuff, but you can only exchange it. You can also buy it with spirit jades, but it doesn't accept contribution points. Little fatty carefully introduced the ghost market to Yunjioge. Because there were a lot of things that couldn't be put on the table, people who entered the ghost market had to cover their faces. They weren't allowed to ask for the origin of anything they wanted to exchange, and fighting was not allowed in the ghost market. Although the rules in the ghost market were very strict, there was no guarantee once you left. Many people would stare at targets in the ghost market and rob when they left, so it was very dangerous for people without any strength to go to the ghost market. Sounds good. Zishang transmitted his voice to Yunjioge, deciding to go for a stroll tonight. Actually, there is still some risk in going to the ghost market. Senior Yunjio, if you have anything you want, just find me. I guarantee a good price. Little Fatty started to pull in business. Okay, if you have spirit bones that are suitable for the Lu sisters, help me look for them. Yunjioge acted like a rich man who wanted to buy something to please a beauty. No problem. Little Fatty patted his chest and guaranteed. Yunjioge left the workshop and returned to the house to prepare for the night market. What do you plan on using to exchange for things? Zishang asked. I'll use some Yin energy pills to try. If it doesn't work I'll use spirit jades to buy it. Yunjioge really didn't have anything good on hand. She couldn't bear to use the ingredients in the storage bag to exchange, it would be very hard to buy them in the future. It's better to keep the spirit jades. Zishang said. These contribution points could only be used in Yin Corp sect, outside it was still better to use spirit jades. What do you think if I use the Yin pill to exchange? Yunjioge's only skill was alchemy. Sure. Zishang was very confident in Yunjioge's alchemy skills. Yunjioge naturally wouldn't use her own high-quality Yin pill to exchange. She took out the inferior Yin pill and put them in a bottle, finally preparing 10 bottles. At midnight, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The air was quiet. Yunjioge put on a black cloak and a black cat mask, then set off for the locust tree forest with Zishang. From the outside, nothing seemed out of the ordinary in the locust tree forest, but after entering, he found that there were people everywhere in the shadows of the trees. If he wanted to sell something, all he had to do was find a secluded place and place the item on a red cloth. Then, he would wait for someone who was interested to ask about it. Yunjioge looked around and found that there were all kinds of things being sold. Medicinal pills, cultivation techniques, demonic weapons, medicinal ingredients, and there were also people selling placentas. It was said that many female disciples liked the placentas and often bought them as tonics. There were also quite a number of people selling spirit bones. Most of them were gathered at the corner of a row of trees on the left. Yunjioge walked over and found a stall that had good spirit bones on display. A few of the bones were glowing with a faint azure light, indicating that they were wind elemental bones. The stall owner was also wearing a black cloak and a grey wolf mask. He was quite tall. What kind of bone is this? Yunjioge didn't need to change his voice to use a woman's voice. Rank 3 Gale Wolf's leg bone. The grey wolf stall owner's voice was very hoarse. It was clearly not his own voice. Gale wolves could only be found in the bewildering beast forest in the north. That was the territory of the Joyful Union sect. He didn't know how this grey wolf stall owner got his hands on it. Indeed, he couldn't ask about the origins of the items in the black market. How much? Yunjioge didn't have the time to go to the bewildering beast forest and could only buy it with money. 100 spirit jade for one. The grey wolf stall owner said. So expensive? Yunjioge was interested and wanted to bargain. Buy it or not? The grey wolf stall owner was quite cool. Yunjioge wasn't angry. He squatted down and began to choose carefully. Although 100 spirit jade for one was quite expensive, the Gale wolf's bone was indeed good stuff. If it was refined properly, its power would increase by several times. At this moment, the treasure-seeking scorpion suddenly squeaked and shouted, "Master, there's a treasure." "Treasure, where is it?" Yunjioge immediately perked up. The bench under that man's butt is a treasure. The treasure-seeking scorpion's voice was quite excited. Bench? Yunjioga glanced over in confusion. She discovered that there was a bare beast's bone under the grey wolf stall owner's butt. It looked grey and had no spiritual power at all. It was made to be a bench. However, since the treasure-seeking scorpion said it was a treasure, then it must be true. Yunjioga was very experienced in buying treasures. She only needed to bargain with the grey wolf stall owner and buy the gale wolf's leg bones first. Then, she would pretend to ask for a bonus and take the bare beast bone away. Before Yunjioga could open her mouth to bargain, she heard the stall owner next door loudly say, "We don't add bonuses here." She glanced to the side and discovered at the stone that the other person wanted to use as a bonus was a red cloth. At this moment, it had already been put away by the stall owner as a treasure. TCH, asking for a bonus in the ghost city, what an idiot. The grey wolf stall owner sneered, taking pleasure in other people's misfortune. Yunjioga was immediately speechless. These Een Corpse sect people were too shrewd. How could people find treasures like this? She couldn't help but glance at the bare beast bone under the grey wolf stall owner's butt. If she rashly said that she wanted to buy the bare beast bone, the grey wolf stall owner would definitely be suspicious. She had to think of a way. Let's leave first. Zishang also spoke. Yunjioga pretended to leave, then walked to an empty corner and began to think of a way. This bare beast bone is not easy to buy. Yunjioga racked her brains, but couldn't think of a way to naturally buy a useless bare beast bone. What's there to think about? If he doesn't want to sell, then just rob him. Zishang said as if it was a matter of course. Fighting is prohibited in the ghost city. Yunjioga still had to stay in the Een Corpse sect for a long time. Causing trouble now was definitely courting death. Can't we just leave the ghost city? Zishang was very familiar with robbery. In fact, he had already placed a tracing curse on the grey wolf stall owner, so he could find him at any time. All right. It's just robbing a broken bare beast bone. At worst, she would just give him some spirit jades as compensation. After Yunjioga made her decision, she prepared to go back and buy the gale wolf bones that she saw earlier. Buy what? When the time comes, we'll just rob them together. There was no need to go through so much trouble. What if he sells it to someone else? Yunjioga frowned. That bone was very good. Then we'll rob again. Zishang's hands were itching. How can we rob so much? Yunjioga ignored Zishang's rotten idea and went back to find the grey wolf stall owner. I want all 4 of these gale wolf spirit bones, can I have less? Yunjioga asked. Not less, this thing is not easy to get. The grey wolf stall owner was speaking the truth. For these gale wolf bones, he was almost messed up by those little hussies from the Hahuan sect. Chapter 300. I don't have any spirit jades, do you want to trade for the elixir? Yunjioga asked again. What pill? The grey wolf stall owner asked indifferently. He did not seem to be very interested. High-grade gathering Een pill, can be taken from Chi disciple level 5 to peak. Yunjioga felt that this grey wolf vendor's cultivation should not be low, so it would be useful. The grey wolf vendor immediately raised his head. Although the shadow of the cloak covered his face, Yunjioga could feel that he was very surprised. Let me have a look. Although the grey wolf vendor was happy, he was still very cautious. Yunjioga poured a gathering Een pill over. The grey wolf vendor was also knowledgeable, he could tell that it was a good elixir, and could indeed be used from Chi disciple level 5 to peak. How do you want to trade? The grey wolf vendor held the elixir and did not let go. 100 spirit jades per bottle, 10 pills. Yunjioga felt that his price was very fair. Okay. The grey wolf vendor nodded, and the two quickly completed the transaction. Yunjioge took the spirit bone, put it in her Qianquan bag, and turned to leave. When she left, there were still a few gazes on her. It seemed that they had their eyes on her. Yunjioge glanced at them from the corner of her eyes, and found that it was a gang crime. 3 or 4 people stood in a position where they could closely observe her movements, and they were not afraid of her finding out. "Go that way," Zishang said. Yunjioge followed Zishang into the shadow of the locust tree, and when she came out, she changed into a pure black mask, and even her body was much more muscular, and she immediately got rid of those people who wanted to rob her. "That gray wolf vendor left, let's quickly follow." Zishang kept watching. "Let's go." Yunjioge also quickly left the ghost city, and followed the gray wolf vendor from a distance. It could be seen that this gray wolf vendor was very experienced. After circling around the ghost city several times, he quietly left and walked towards the first peak. The gray wolf vendor was very vigilant along the way, and deliberately chose wide and open terrain to walk. Yunjioge originally wanted to sneak attack, but she could not find a chance. If the gray wolf vendor returned to Peak 1, the robbery plan would be ruined. Yunjioge had no choice, and could only use the white bone spur to stab the gray wolf vendor from the shadows. He didn't expect the gray wolf stall owner to react so quickly. 2 fiery red bone spurs flew over in a flash. One of them broke Yunjioge's white bone spike into 2. The other one was aimed at Yunjioge's chest. Yunjioge's figure flickered, and after dodging the attack, he held the broken bone spear in his hand. "Little guy, you actually dare to rob me? You're really courting death." The gray wolf stall owner laughed arrogantly. He has been setting up a stall in the ghost city for many years and has seen too many thieves. What he likes the most is this kind of business where the thief eats the thief. Yunjioge did not speak. He shook the corpse control bell and continued to command the 2 broken bone spurs to attack the gray wolf stall owner. "TSK, you really won't shed a tear until you see your coffin." The gray wolf stall owner shook his head, looking as if he didn't care about his opponent at all. But his hands were very cautious, and he immediately directed the 2 red bone spurs to meet the attack. These 2 bone spikes were forged from the bones of a Type 2 blazing lion. Although it wasn't fast, the flowing fire effect had a special skill. When the fiery red bone spur flew in front of Yunjioge, the red light suddenly exploded, dazzling people's eyes. Yunjioge accidentally blinded her eyes, and became a bit absent-minded. She didn't notice that a thin gray bone spur was hiding in the shadows and approaching her. The gray wolf stall owner revealed a proud smile, feeling that tonight's extra income was already safely in his storage bag. He didn't expect his waist to suddenly go numb, and he instantly fell to the ground. "You're too careless," Zishang said to Yunjioge while holding the gray bone spur. Yunjioge's fighting style was still too similar to a spirit practitioner, being straightforward. In the past, she had the Thunder Snake Illusion Whip, a powerful totem that could attack and defend, so she naturally wasn't afraid of these sneak attacks. But she was now a small outer sect disciple of the Een Corpse sect, so she was at a disadvantage if she used her previous fighting style. "I won't do it next time." Yunjioge also knew that she was a bit careless. These Een Corpse sect outer sect disciples didn't have much cultivation, but they had a lot of tricks up their sleeves. If she continued like before, she would suffer sooner or later. Zishang saw that Yunjioge knew her mistake, so he didn't say anything more. With a hook of his finger, he took the gray wolf stall owner's storage bag and gave it to Yunjioge. After Yunjioge opened it, she first took out the gray bear beast bone. Then, she glanced at the gray wolf stall owner's storage bag, and realized that this guy was a rich man. Other than more than 3,000 spirit jades and a mess of pills and herbs, there was also a complete set of black and red bone spurs. He couldn't tell what material it was made of, but there were a total of 5 of them, and they were all in the shape of a sharp knife. The 3 deep blood grooves in the middle were very sharp, and there were secret patterns engraved on them. They were all stained with blood, and were actually refined using the blood refining method. This is a set of evil weapon, it has already been refined by him, you can't use it. Zishang glanced at the set of bone spurs. If the Grey Wolf stall owner used this set of bone spurs to deal with Yunjioge, the battle would have ended in an instant. To be able to use 5 bone spurs, he must at least be at the peak of qi condensation. With this kind of cultivation, he would definitely be a big shot in the first peak. However, Yunjioge was masked today, so he wasn't afraid of being recognized. Yunjioge didn't care about those pills and herbs, and he couldn't use the bone spurs. The only thing that was useful was the 3,000 spirit jades. Yunjioge put away the spirit jades without hesitation. According to Zishang, at this time, it was better to silence him. However, Yunjioge felt that this guy had some luck, and he might be useful if he was kept alive. When Yunjioge returned the storage bag to the Grey Wolf stall owner, he pulled down the Grey Wolf stall owner's cloak, revealing a handsome face with a strong personality. Although his eyes were closed, Yunjioge could still see his deep brows, high nose bridge, slightly tanned skin, and he looked very boorish, different from the handsome people of the Central Plains. If little Fatty was here, he would definitely tell Yunjioge that this Grey Wolf stall owner was the strongest disciple of the first peak, Wolf Fang. It was said that he had already been appointed as the personal disciple of Elder White Bones, and was even given a foundation establishment pill. Wolf Fang also had a cave in White Bones Peak, and he rarely moved around the first peak. Today, he purposely came here to lure Yunjioge, but he didn't expect to be plotted against by Yunjioge. Huh! This guy has been poisoned. Yunjioge noticed that there was a faint pink color under the Grey Wolf stall owner's collarbone. It looked like countless peach blossom petals stacked together. However, it was really strange for such an incomparably enchanting color to appear on such a big man. Peach blossom charming bone poison, the unique aphrodisiac of the Joyous Union sect. The poisoned person must have intercourse with the female disciples of the sect for 7 days and 7 nights in order to get rid of the poison. Zishang could tell the source of the poison with a single glance. 7 days and 7 nights. Even a Jingu bang would be ground into a needle by water. Chapter 301. Yunjioge had also heard of this aphrodisiac. It was said that once it took effect, it would not even let off a sough. She counted the peach blossom petals on the Grey Wolf stall owner's body, there were a total of 9 petals. It could be seen that the Grey Wolf stall owner had been poisoned for a period of time, and it was unknown how he managed to survive. I heard that aside from stimulating a man's male hormones, this poison also has a special effect on certain materials, such as spirit bones. Is that true? Yunjioge asked Zishang. Why don't you take some from him and try it? Zishang could tell that Yunjioge's hands were itching to get rid of the poison. Alright, for the sake of the 3,000 spirit jades, I will be merciful and save his life, Yunjioge said as she tore off the Grey Wolf vendor's clothes, revealing his muscular upper body. Needless to say, his figure was really not bad. His muscles contained strength, and one look and you could tell that he was a macho man. Zishang frowned when he saw Yunjioge taking off a man's clothes. He was extremely displeased. Yunjioge was busy studying the poison and did not realize that he had touched Zishang's reverse scale. This poison is truly interesting. Yunjioge's eyes shone with excitement. Generally, the way to dispel the aphrodisiac was to relieve it by masturbating. However, the peach blossom charming bone poison was the exact opposite. The more you masturbated, the deeper the poison would be. Even if you used up all your yang energy and broke your penis, it would still be useless. In the end, they would still die a horrible death from the poison. This gray wolf stall owner probably knew how powerful this poison was, so he had been holding it in after he was poisoned. Now, it wasn't hard to get rid of it. Central, Shunkei. Yunjioge quickly found the acupuncture points to detoxify. The thunder fire needle flashed with a pale purple light and pierced it from top to bottom, from left to right, and began to expel the poison. Drops of pink liquid seeped out of the gray wolf stall owner's wheat-colored skin, making him look like an adorable flower. Speaking of which, the gray wolf stall owner was quite lucky. The outer sex-in skill that he practiced had an innate cold-blooded effect. It had a certain suppressive effect on this kind of aphrodisiac, which was why he could endure it for so long. If an ordinary spiritualist was poisoned, he would have died of hunger and thirst long ago. After Yunjioge forced the peach blossom charming bone poison out, he carefully collected it in a jade bottle. Thank Big Sister. It's not a waste to spend 3,000 spirit jades. Yunjioge kindly helped the gray wolf stall owner find a safe place to hide before leaving. Wolf woke up very quickly. Before he could fully open his eyes, he immediately went to check his storage bag. F***ck, as soon as he opened it, he discovered that all the spirit jades were gone. Even the big bone that he usually used as a mount for the bear beast was gone. Motherf***, it must be the guy who bought the Gale wolf bone from me today. Wolf Fang's intuition had always been sharp. He had always felt that the big bone was very unusual. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't find out the secret behind it, so he kept it with him as a stool. He didn't expect that it would be snatched away by someone who knew what it was. If I find out who it is, I will definitely have my revenge today. Wolf Fang secretly decided in his heart. It just so happened that those 4 Gale wolf bones were very conspicuous. As long as he dared to take them out and use them, he would definitely discover them. Wolf stood up from the ground. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong with his body. He hadn't felt that relaxed feeling in a long time. He pulled down his lapel and looked down. He found that the peach blossom petal that the Hehuan sect woman had made under his collarbone had disappeared. Then, he reached down and touched the Jingu Bang, which was always bulging, also calmed down a lot. Could it be that the poison has been cured? Wolf was overjoyed. Previously, he had chased a Gale wolf into the bewildering beast forest of the Hehuan sect. He was careless and was sneak attacked by that group of little wenches, almost being toyed to death by them. He spent a lot of effort to escape. Unfortunately, he couldn't find someone who knew how to cure the poison. He could only circulate his qi every day to freeze 3 inches below his navel. The feeling of his little dick being frozen was not good. He thought that if he couldn't find anyone, he could only bite the bullet and find his future master, the White Bones Elder. He didn't expect that after being beaten up today, the poison would be cured. Originally, Wolf Fang wanted to find the robbers to settle the debt. Now, he suddenly felt that it would be very beneficial to know such a powerful expert. There were too few people in the Yin Corpse sect who could refine pills and cure poisons. Yunjioge didn't know that Wolf Fang was thinking of ways to hug her thigh. After she came back, she prepared a bottle of black ink and soaked the bones of the Tempest Wolf in it. These bones were very rare among the outer sect disciples. It would be too conspicuous to take it out directly. It had to be processed first. After Yunjioge processed the 4 bones of the Gale wolf, she took out the big bear beast bone and asked the treasure-seeking scorpion, "What kind of treasure is this? Why didn't it have any spiritual energy?" "I don't know. I just saw 2 spots in the middle that were particularly bright. It's definitely a treasure." The treasure-seeking scorpion waved its big pincers and said confidently. "Light spots?" Yunjioge couldn't find any clues after turning it over and over, so she asked Zishang, "Do you see the light spots? I am not a treasure-seeking demon." Zishang was only interested in those things that could supplement his demonic power. Forget it. Let's cut it first. Yunjioge was a man of his word. He took out a knife, and under the guidance of the treasure-seeking scorpion, he cut off the 2 light spots. Then, he slowly polished them. Finally, he found 2 thumb-sized beads in the gray bone seam. It was also gray and dull, without any spiritual energy, let alone light. This is the inner core of a pearl fish? Zishang's eyes were sharp this time. He recognized it at a glance. Does a pearl fish also have an inner core? Although Yunjioge had never seen one before, the 2 stones in her hand didn't look like one. It's probably because it was petrified for too long that its spiritual energy was sealed. Zishang took the small beads from Yunjioge's hand and gently squeezed them. Finally, there were only 2 white beads the size of rice grains left in her palm, shining with a soft light. This kind of pearl fish is the bear beast's favorite food. Only 2 out of 100,000 can cultivate an orb. I think this bear beast accidentally swallowed these 2 pearl fish into its stomach, but unfortunately, it was killed before it could digest them. In the end, the orb fused with the bear's bones. These were all Zishang's guesses, but he felt that the truth shouldn't be too far off. What's the use of this inner core? Can it be eaten? Yunjioge swallowed her saliva. She felt that after practicing the 10,000 beast spell, she had become much more beastly. This inner core has been left for too long. You can't eat it. Zishang was afraid that Yunjioge would have a problem eating it. He didn't like it either. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this time, the treasure-seeking scorpion said embarrassedly, "Master, can you give my wife one? My wife is about to evolve recently." What is your wife going to evolve into? Is it also a treasure-seeking scorpion? Yunjioge asked. She remembered that treasure-seeking scorpions were born as spirit beasts. She had never heard of an ordinary scorpion evolving into one. Chapter 302. Yeah, I didn't expect my wife to have such an opportunity. If she evolves successfully, it will be much easier for us to have children in the future. The treasure-seeking scorpion had always wanted a child, and it would be best if it could look like its wife. It would definitely be a beautiful child. At that time, the family of 3 could not only search for treasures together, but also help its master fight, which would definitely make more money for revenge. I didn't expect the inner core of the pearl fish to have such benefits. Yunjioge sighed. She and Zishang had used a lot of it, so it didn't matter if she gave it to the treasure-seeking scorpion. The treasure-seeking scorpion had been with her for a long time, and it had made contributions and worked hard, so it was not too much to ask for an inner core. She was about to agree when the little skeleton monkey squatting in the corner suddenly walked over. Its soul fire jumped crazily as it looked at the inner core on Yunjioge's hand, and its desire was overflowing. "Master, I asked first, so it has to be behind me." The treasure-seeking scorpion immediately became nervous, really worried that Yunjioge would refuse it. After all, this new skeleton monkey helped its master get a lot of yin energy for cultivation, so it was much more useful than it. "You're just a skeleton, what are you doing? Go away." Yunjioge waved his hand. The skeleton didn't have an inner core, so it would be a waste to give it to it. The soul fire in the eyes of the little skeleton monkey immediately dimmed, and it looked like it could be extinguished at any time. Okay, I'll make a bucket of yin energy water for you to drink." Yunjioge felt that she really owed it. But there was no other way. Without this little skeleton monkey, she couldn't get so much yin energy, so she could only coax it. Crack, crack. The little skeleton monkey shook its big head happily, and its soul fire jumped happily again. "Good boy, go back and stay. I'll make it for you later." After coaxing the little skeleton monkey back, Yunjioga rewarded the treasure-seeking scorpion with an inner core of the pearl fish and 2 bottles of cherry pills. After all, it was the one who found the inner core of the pearl fish. Although it couldn't use it, it still had to be encouraged. "Thank you, Master." The treasure-seeking scorpion was so happy that it almost popped up. Its previous masters all used it as a tool. No matter what treasures they found, they would not think of it. Instead, they would abuse it and its wife. Only this current master was the most generous. The treasure-seeking scorpion used its pincers to carry the inner core and the cherry pill into the sack to look for its wife. "Wife, look, this is the inner core and sugar pill that master gave to me. Eat it and you'll become like me." The treasure-seeking scorpion placed the inner core in front of his wife and said proudly, "So many?" The female scorpion's eyes widened. It had been preparing to evolve recently and was starving every day. It could not wait to stuff the inner elixir into its mouth, then opened the bottle of cherry elixir and wolfed it down. The female scorpion stuffed one by one into its mouth, as if it hadn't eaten for hundreds of years. The treasure-seeking scorpion secretly swallowed its saliva and kept trying to persuade its wife, eat slowly. No one is fighting with you." The female scorpion swallowed 19 cherry pills in one go. She only remembered the treasure-seeking scorpion when there was only one left. She immediately pushed it in front of him in embarrassment. "Honey, eat it." "I won't eat it." The treasure-seeking scorpion waved its pincers and pushed it back. It chuckled and said, "Eat more and nourish your body. Then, you can help me give birth to little scorpions." After the female scorpion ate the last cherry pill, it did not forget to slap the treasure-seeking scorpion shyly with its stinger. "You're dead." The treasure-seeking scorpion was slapped away, but its face was still filled with happiness. In the past, it had taken a fancy to its wife's strong body and powerful stinger. It had been a long time since it was slapped. It felt so good. Yunjioga looked at the interaction between the treasure-seeking scorpion couple in amusement. The female scorpion had really changed a lot after being raised by her for a period of time. The scars from Lu Yunfei's abuse had completely disappeared. Its brown carapace emitted a faint purple glow. Its body was even thicker than the treasure-seeking scorpion, and its stinger was thick and long. It was obvious that it was well nourished. "Fat scorpion, why don't you give the remaining pearl inner core to your wife?" Yunjioga was quite confident in the female scorpion. She believed that in time, the female scorpion would definitely give birth to a group of healthy scorpion babies. If they were all treasure-seeking scorpions, then she would be rich. She would be able to collect treasures just by sitting down every day. No need, one is enough. The treasure-seeking scorpion quickly shook its head. It hesitated for a moment, then said, "Master, why don't you give the one you gave birth to the fat rat?" "Why?" Yunjioga raised her eyebrows. The treasure-seeking scorpion had not been here for long, and the skinny rat had fallen asleep. The two of them should not be friends. "I have a feeling that my wife's evolution has something to do with that sleeping fat rat." The treasure-seeking scorpion could not explain that feeling. It felt that the fat rat should also be a treasure, but it could not see any clues. For such a situation to occur, either the fat rat was useless, or it was too awesome for the treasure-seeking scorpion to understand. The treasure-seeking scorpion felt that the latter was more likely. "All right, I'll give it to it." Yunjioga took out the black fat rat from the cloth bag. The flower spirit pearl that was previously placed in its arms had disappeared, but it still showed no signs of awakening. "You stinking brat, when are you going to sleep? You ate so many of my treasures. Just wait to be a slave for the rest of your life." Yunjioga rubbed the head of the black fat rat and thought of the fat baby it had transformed into. What on earth was this guy? It was really curious. Yunjioga stuffed the pearl fish's inner core into the black fat rat's arms. It seemed to feel that this was a good thing, and it hugged the inner core and curled up even tighter. Yunjioga ravaged it again, then put it back into the cloth bag. She took out the little female parasite for inspection. The pink cocoon's color had deepened a lot, and it was a light cherry red. The life aura coming from it was also very stable, but there was no sign of it hatching. Yunjioga crushed a cherry pill and put it on the cocoon. After it finished absorbing and recuperating, she put it back into the cloth bag. It was already late at night. After the treasure-seeking scorpion couple had their fill, they snuggled together and fell asleep. Yunjioga was tired after being busy for most of the night. She yawned and was about to go back to bed to rest. When she turned around, she saw Zishang standing silently behind her. His handsome face was so dark that it seemed like it was about to drip water. "Are you trying to scare me to death in the middle of the night?" Yunjioga patted her chest. Although Zishang's image was very beautiful, he was also very sinister. When he didn't speak, he was quite scary. "You're scared? Then why were you so bold when you took off the man's clothes just now?" Zishang's gray eyes were dark. The corners of his mouth were tightly pursed, and his whole body was full of the aura of a king who was not in a good mood. "If the king was not happy, you little slut, hurry up and kneel down to apologize." "What do you mean by taking off the man's clothes?" "I was treating a patient and saving a person. Besides, I received a consultation fee of 3,000 spirit jades." Yunjioga would not admit this crime even if she was beaten to death. Chapter 303. I remember that I was the one who defeated that guy. Zishang's eyes were cold. The 3,000 spiritual jades should have been his spoils of war, not a consultation fee. "Aya, we're so familiar with each other. Why are you so calculative? Come, let's dual cultivate for a bit. It'll be your compensation." Yunjioga winked at Zishang and pushed him onto the bed. "Do it yourself." Zishang lay on the bed and stared at Yunjioga with his gray eyes. "I'll do it myself." Yunjioga went up without hesitation. At first, it was a little painful. What could she do? Zishang was just too big. Fortunately, he only had one stick in his human form. If 2 sticks came at her at once, she would definitely die. After Yunjioga got used to it, she began to cultivate seriously. Her long, slender, and fair legs moved up and down. She looked very alluring. At first, Zishang felt like he was watching a show, but soon, he couldn't take it anymore. However, Yunjioga seemed to be enjoying herself. It made him so angry that his teeth itched. Too slow. Zishang's eyes were dark, and he felt like a storm was brewing. "It's not like we're in a hurry. Come at me if you can." Yunjioga panted slightly. This position was very strenuous. It wasn't easy to be fast. Zishang's gray eyes flashed dangerously. He grabbed Yunjioga's slender waist and lifted her up. He lifted her up forcefully and landed heavily on the ground. The huge force pierced through Yunjioga like a javelin, stimulating her spine like a bolt of electricity. Yunjioga trembled. Her strength was instantly sucked away by the strong feeling, and her body went limp. "You're going to die." Yunjioga pressed her hands against Zishang's chest and glared at him. Unfortunately, her slightly red eyes didn't have any killing power. "Be serious." Zishang's face was stern, and he slapped her mercilessly. Then, he held her waist and began to exert force. Every time he lifted her waist, Zishang would move back slightly. After putting as much distance between them as possible, he put her down. The violent aura was like a flood dragon in the sea, and the frequency was like rain on a banana leaf. Pure energy gathered in Yunjioge's dantian and flowed through all the meridians in her body. Slow down. Yunjioge's voice was hurried, and his words were stuttering. It was impossible for him to maintain his previous leisurely demeanor. Today, break through to the 4th level of Qi disciple in one go. If you can't reach it, don't even think about coming down. Zishang did not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. He was determined to teach her a lesson today. I just broke through the 3rd level of Qi refinement last month. Yunjioge was about to cry. Her current accumulation was not enough for her to make another breakthrough. If she wanted to advance, she could only rely on the aura of the purple decease sword. Wouldn't that mean that she would die in this place? Thank me, you will become the outer sect disciple with the fastest cultivation speed. Zishang's gray eyes were dark and gloomy. The corners of his light-colored lips curled upwards, making him look indescribably cold and demonic. Yunjioge's legs trembled and his body went limp. It wasn't because of the sun, but because he was scared. She felt that she would definitely become very, very miserable. Outside the house, the Lu sisters were endlessly hesitating. Sister, senior brother Yunjio has not left the house for 3 days and 3 nights. Could something have happened to him? Lu Tian'er asked worriedly. Previously, when Yunjio went into seclusion to cultivate, he would inform the Lu sisters in advance. This time, he went into seclusion for 3 days without a word, making the 2 sisters extremely worried. One had to know that they were about to run out of Yin energy pills and gathering Yin pills. What would they do if they couldn't find someone to collect the pills from? They had already tasted the taste of good pills. If they were to go back and eat low-level pills, they would probably not be able to adapt. Don't be afraid. Senior brother Yunjio has the protection of the 1,000-year-old corpse. He will be fine. Lu Mei was not worried about this. There was no one in the outer sect who was a match for the 1,000-year-old corpse. Sister, do you think senior brother Yunjio will help us refine the bones? Lu Tian'er asked again. The 2 sisters came to find Yunjio not only to get the pills, but also to ask Yunjio to help refine 2 spirit bones. That was why they were standing guard at the door. Let's ask first. Lu Mei did not have much confidence in this. It would be better if they only asked Yunjio, but they also needed the 1,000-year-old corpse this time. They were afraid that it would not be so simple. Just when the 2 sisters were feeling uneasy and wondering if they should send another message, the door finally opened. Come in. Yunjio Ji's voice was weak and hoarse, as if he had been shouting for a long time. The Lu sisters hurriedly entered the room and did not forget to close the door. Senior brother Yunjio, what happened to you? Lu Tian'er was shocked when she saw Yunjio Ji's swollen eyes and his body was hollowed out. Nothing, sit. Yunjio Gu weakly asked the 2 sisters to sit down. Senior brother, you're in the 4th stage of Qi training? Lu Mei's eyes became sharper, and she immediately noticed that Yunjio Gu was different. Really? Lu Tian'er's eyes widened. She remembered that Yunjio Gu had just advanced to the 3rd stage of Qi training when he gave them the pills last month. It had only been a month, and he advanced again. Yes, I'm in the 4th stage of Qi training. Yunjio Gu said weakly, not happy at all. Senior brother, how did you do it? Teach us. Lu Tian'er asked impatiently. If they could learn this secret method, they would be able to go back and take revenge sooner. Lu Mei also wanted to know, but she was more cautious than her sister. She would think before asking. Once again, she discovered something unusual. Yunjio Ji's 1,000-year-old corpse sat silently in the shadows. His usually expressionless handsome face revealed a satisfied expression, and he would occasionally look at Yunjio Gu with possessive eyes. This expression reminded Lu Mei of a male beast when he conquered a female. Her heart skipped a beat, and she immediately knew how Yunjiu Gu advanced quickly. She and her sister could not learn this method. Seeing that Lu Tian'er wanted to continue asking, Lu Mei quickly pulled her back and said with a smile, "Sister, didn't you say you found 2 good spirit bones and wanted to ask senior brother Yunjiu for help? Why don't you take them out quickly?" Lu Tian'er was stunned. Although she did not know why her sister didn't let her ask, she followed along and changed the topic. "Yes, senior brother Yunjiu, a few days ago we found 2 earth spirit mouse bones at Jean Lin's place. Senior brother, please help us take a look." As she spoke, she took out 2 earthy yellow bones from her storage bag. They were 3 feet long, and the surface of the bones glowed with a faint yellow light. Although they were not very thick, the light was quite full. Yunjiu Gu picked up the spirit bones and examined them carefully. He nodded, "These bones are not bad." The sisters had earth spirit roots, so the bones of the earth spirit mouse were very suitable for them. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.